Hey y'all, I hear Brutus is making some noise on my thing, but I thought I would check in and we would see what was going on down at the courthouse. I think I have too many windows open, so y'all hang on. Hold on, y'all. Can you hear me still? Okay. So, hey KJ, what I was really coming in is I was going to read some of the tweets and what's going on down at the courthouse. I've been looking this morning. I've I was gonna like I'm gonna be so on this. I'm gonna be so ready. I'm gonna be so in touch. And I walked this morning and lost my cell phone, so I don't have a phone to call anybody, or talk to Krisha, or talk to anybody. So, so I've got me in this computer. And so when I saw the tweets coming in, I thought, well, we need to just talk about this a little bit. We need to talk about what's going on. So I'm going to go to the um, to Twitter, and I'm going to pull up some different ones. What's going on down there? So here, let me present. Let me go. I think I'm going to go find out what Nate's doing. Share the screen. So right now, let's see. I'm going to see what y'all see because it's hard sometimes that you can't look at two things at once on here. Okay, there's Nate. Okay. So what's going on down there with Nate is he got down there early this morning. He's been tweeting. Well, sometimes it's hard for me to find my way back to where I was. Okay, here it is. And Nate says that he's been down there and that he's going to actually go live after a while, and we want to hear what he has to say. Nate, let's see what it says here. He says he's inside the courtroom on day one of Lori Daybell's jury selection. Judge Justin Boreski is on the bench. Trina Kay is on behalf of the state, and Lori's advisory attorneys are here. Lori is not in the courtroom yet. No cameras for jury selection. We'll post live updates. So this was an hour ago. So 4 minutes ago, he says another potential jury would have to take an Uber every day from Surprise, Arizona, about a 40-minute way. The jury was excused. So there's more. Let's see. Nate says that there's around 60 seats in the gallery for the members of the public, and there is a much larger courtroom compared to the previous Daybell hearings. The seats are padded, and his personal opinion is much more comfortable than the benches in Ada County. I did hear Cresha and her mom and them talk about how hard those benches were, so good for them that they have cushions on the benches. So Nate also says that Lori just walked in. This is an hour ago, y'all. She has curled hair, a black dress suit with a black and white blouse, no handcuffs, and no leg shackles. She smiles as she walks in, like a movie star, I bet. Nate also says the judge calls up the defense and prosecution to talk at the bench, and there are around 15 people in the gallery. 54 minutes ago, he said there are two tables on each side of the courtroom with three people on each side. So the defense could have six people and the state could have six. Currently, there are two people on the prosecution side and four people on the defense. Lori's investigator sitting at the rear table. Hope that makes sense, he says. And 52 minutes ago, he says this is an interesting note. He says Judge Berinsky's graduated from the University of Idaho College of Law and has been a Superior Court judge since 2017. We have a fact page here. Nate also says 51 minutes ago that prosecution has having tech issues with their computers and IT is being called to help. Trina says she will use her notes for now. 50 minutes ago, Berinsky began listing the jurors' numbers who he believes should be excused for work obligations or other reasons. They're moving and etc. Prosecution and defense did not object to the strikes. Lori is taking notes on a yellow pad. 47 minutes ago, the potential jurors had knowledge of the case, so Berinsky recommends they be dismissed. And the state and defense agree. Lori is answering the question on behalf of the defense, and Trina K asked that anyone with any knowledge of the case be dismissed. So that's good. They're getting them out of the way. 46 minutes ago, Nate said, for your information, I will refer to Trina K using her whole name or first name during the trial so as to not confuse with Kay Woodcock. That's very nice of him. Nate also says 45 minutes ago, someone's phone just went off, and Berinsky said, if someone's phone is on the back, a man apologized, and Berinsky tells the gallery that all phones need to be silenced. 42 minutes ago, the judge recommends excusing another potential jurors for a variety of reasons. One has a personal tragedy and says they cannot focus on the case. Another cannot read or understand English, and others will be out of town, and etc. Nate says 38 minutes ago, other potential jurors have watched the news and other programs about the case. Others have issues. One cannot sit for longer than 20 minutes. Nate also says 36 minutes ago, one potential juror was a strong opinion about the case, and the judge moved to have the jurors dismissed. Prosecution and defense agree. Another is having surgery for the next week, scheduled surgery, and they're excused. 35 minutes ago, Nate says Tom Evans, the juror from Lori Vallow Daybell's Idaho trial, is in the courtroom with his wife Susan. He also attended Chad Daybell's trial. Tom wrote a book about the cases. 29 minutes ago, the judge continues to go through the list of jurors' numbers he believes that should be excused. Prosecution and defense agree with his opinions. 26 minutes ago, potential jurors who advance from the list will be brought in tomorrow or later this week for individual for dire questioning. 12 jurors and 4 alternates will be selected for the trial. 24 minutes ago, the court taking a short break while prosecution works to fix computer issues. And 20 minutes ago, they got back on the record. Prosecutors' computers are now working. The judge continues to list potential jurors who have hardships and recommends they be excused. Prosecution and defense agree. 18 minutes ago, one juror transports a child with autism every day, and Berinsky recommends she be excused. Lori took a moment and consulted with her advisory attorney before saying, I agree, Your Honor. Well, now that's strange. She's going to want to put this lady through some trouble. Let me see what y'all's comments are. I'm going to try to not forget where I am. Let's see here. Hooker, you're right, KJ. Justice for Charles. Okay. All right. So let me get back to it. Y'all doing good? Everybody handling things well there in the chat? Okay. Let's see. Back to this. 13 minutes ago, the judge mentions another potential juror, and Lori says that she wants her struck for cause because of an answer to a question about police officers. The judge says he will consider it, but for now, the juror remains on the list. 11 minutes ago, Nate made a personal observation. I've been in Phoenix since Saturday and have spoken with several people, a lady who cut my hair, waitresses, grocery store clerks, and etc. No, not one of them were aware of this case. I had no idea who Lori Vallow Daybell was. Now, isn't that interesting that this far along in Phoenix, where all this happened, they still are not aware of it? So 7 minutes ago, Nate says another potential juror would have to take an Uber every day from Surprise, Arizona, about 40 minutes away. The juror is excused. One person is under treatment for an infectious disease. So we don't want them to come to jury service. The person has also heard about the trial as jurors dismissed. Oh no, don't want some measles or something down there. So that looks like where he was. So let me refresh this, see if he has something else to say here. Let's see, where are we? Thank y'all for joining me for this afternoon to do this. And as I said, my phone is broke, and I just decided. Krisha and I talked yesterday, and she said that if I thought that we could go on and add something to what's going on, to just do it. So here I am. And so uh, so he was about the infectious disease. So 6 minutes ago, not all of the potential jurors Borinsky mentions are being struck. Some remain on the list and will be brought back this week. 4 minutes ago, Nate says, from the Maricopa County Court website, jurors who have been selected will receive $12 per day plus mileage. Mileage is calculated from the middle of your home zip code to the courthouse. The rate, which is concurrently 67 cents per mile, is set by the legislature of Arizona. Isn't that generous of them? So, they got more than that, I think, in Idaho. I've forgotten. But $12 a day. Okay, 3 minutes ago, one juror had a preconceived bias against police and had issues against trusting police. Borinsky suggests this person be released, and the state defense agreed. My goodness. Wasn't that something? So let's see here. Let's see here what we got. Let's see what Justin has to say about any of this. So Justin's been there since early on too, and he says the selection started at 10:30, and these are not in-person jurors, and that at 1:30 there's going to be a motion hearing. And it says it will involve Nate and Phoenix 10, so we'll have to see what's going to happen at 1:30. Oh gosh, it may be happening right now. Justin says, besides financial caregivers, language hardships, we are seeing people excused immediately without follow-up if they have knowledge on the case. Interesting to see how quickly we get through this batch. Justin says, bookmark this for later. Hearings begin at 1:30. You will have to follow my thread and watch me at 2 p.m. to do the breakdown. So I'm going to hit this link so we don't, let's see what happens here. So he says he'll be live in 2 hours for that. So okay, let's see. It says here, Justin says that Vallow Daybell turns to her advisory counselor, Pamela Hicks, consistently to whisper and comments here and there. So that's interesting how he has, some. And Megan also there is Megan Connor. So let's see what Megan is having to say. 11 minutes ago, Megan says that advisory council laughs when the judge mentions a potential juror as being treated for infectious diseases. Lori is also amused and looks across the aisle at Trina K in a bid for connection on approval. Trina does not look at Lori. Oh, she thought she was going to we'll look and agree on this. No, Trina was not having it. Way to go. The court is screening for jurors through May 15th and has excused a couple who have conflicts in May. Wow. Megan says that often the state agrees with the judge and says the state agrees for cause, while Lori states the defense agreed for bias. 23 minutes ago, Megan says, question 17 on the jury questionnaire says, do you have any personal opinions or life experience which would make you more inclined to believe a police officer? Very interesting. So that's that she gave us one of the questions. Uh, Megan says that her counsel is feeding Lori the answers to read much of the time, to say so. Some other things here. Megan says that Lori drinks from a provided water bottle. She's wearing a black hairband and a black hairband wedding ring, she said. Oh, Megan also says Lori catches my eye and shows no recognition. Isn't that strange? As if she's looking through Megan, like Megan is not important enough to see. Oh, she's terrible. Okay, let's see. Now I'm going to see what y'all's comments are while I'm reading all this. Trina K is Lindsay Blake of 2025. Cheesy eggs in Arizona, says Nina. Canadian, yes. Black as her heart, says KJ. That's true. Everybody give difficult research a thumbs up. Yes, please. Go back up here and see who. What's going on. I'm going to see this hearing that's going to be this afternoon. Let's see, Fox 10. That's what it was, wasn't it? Sorry. Well, I thought I was going to get something about Lori, and I got something about a Tesla. There it is right here. Lori Vallow Daybell, Arizona murder conspiracy trial, day 1 of jury selection. That is the old video there. So I'm not sure if they even have new video yet. The backstory. In Arizona, Vallow Daybell is accused of planning the death of her then husband, Charles Vallow. In 2019, it was allegedly motivated by Vallow Daybell's religious beliefs and a $1 million life insurance policy that Charles owned. Charles was shot by Vallow Daybell's late brother, Alex Cox. Cox was said he shot Charles after fighting a fight involving a baseball bat. I'm just going to say all those reasons are not a good reason. Of course, there's no good reason, but he could have just went in the room and locked the door. Lori and the kids were gone. If he was really scared of Charles, he could just went in the room and locked the door and called the police. He didn't have to kill nobody. So back to, let's see where y'all are. And that is not where I wanted to be. There we are. Don't forget the time difference. You're right. So that's in a hope. Yes, you're right. I'm going to go back and see if Nate has posted anything new. And let's see how we do this here. So let's see. I guess I've read all of these. Nate says 6 minutes ago, Lori is consulting with her advisory council as the judge reads through the potential jurors. They are taking notes and whispering to each other. 43 seconds ago, Nate says, it has been nearly 6 years. It has been nearly 6 years since Charles Vallow was shot and killed. Here's the timeline of the complicated case. So he's put up a timeline. I'm just going to hit that button. And I guess he's got that's a pretty good thing to have. It's the timeline of things that happen. And maybe we'll go over there at a later date. Maybe I'll just sit down and go through that one day, but it won't be today. So, let's see. Y'all, let's see. See, what I am going to have to do is I'm going to put on some music to play for a minute while I go and see just 1 second about my mom. Remember this? So y'all hang on just a few minutes and let me go see about my mom, and I'll be straight back. I'll be making all kind of racket here. I'm back. Y'all, don't ever let your old people drink some diet Mountain Dew. My mother drank a Mountain Dew yesterday, and I guess she's never had one before, a diet Mountain Dew. She didn't sleep at all, and she is sweeping and cleaning and doing all kind of stuff that she should not be doing because she's going to fall out. So, I don't know. Mountain Dew must be like methamphetamine to old people or something. I never seen anything like it. Back to this. Let's see what Justin, if he has some new thing to say here. So Justin says 2 minutes ago, we need 12 jurors, 6 alternates for a final seating. Court expects to have this done by 4/3, and we shall see. Okay, so that's by Thursday, I guess, because we're not having court on Friday. So that means they want it all done by the end of Thursday. We'll see. Okay, he says, Justin says 1 minute ago, 35 or so counting make it to the remaining jury pool. I guess that's good. Okay, Justin Lum says 44 seconds ago, Judge Berinsky cracks a joke. We're really moving now after getting 5 straight jurors to remain on. Well, that is very encouraging. Okay. Let's see what Nate. Well, I'm sure that is. Look at those sweet faces. Sweet, sweet, sweet faces. It's just terrible. It's a case of the state of Arizona against a damn monster, a hooker. In my opinion. Aw. So Nate says 2 minutes ago, a juror has a 2-month-old baby and it's breastfeeding. The judge says he has had breastfeeding jurors in the past and they give them a room to pump. He suggests the juror be excused. The state and the defense agree. Oh my God. Can you imagine this poor woman up there trying to nurse a baby in a side room and go listen to about murder in another room? Thank God they let this poor woman go on home. Bless you, Judge. And I don't know what, I'm just, wow. Okay, let's see what Megan has to say. I'm so glad. And Trace is there too, but I don't know if Trace has a Twitter account, but I hope that she would, she can't even give me a call because I lost my dang phone. Okay. Megan says, Lori says, we agree, Your Honor. Berinsky says, with me or the state? That's pretty funny. Lori says, empathetic, we agree with the state. Good Lord. She don't know what she's talking about. Megan says the state and defense to excuse the potential juror who is nursing a 2-month-old. The judge notes that he has had nursing mothers on jury before, providing a room for pumping. Oh my God. So they're not even let the baby in to come nurse. You got to pump it and somebody else has got to take care of the baby. That's a lot of work. God bless women who were on a jury and had a nursing baby or any kind of baby, for God's sakes. Okay. Megan says 21 seconds ago that our Arizona Jury Fund is programmed to provide additional financial support for jurors serving on trials lasting 1 day or more. The AJF aims to replace unpaid earnings for jurors who might face financial hardships due to missing work. God, okay, that's from AI. Didn't that sound fancy though? I hope that's right. Justin Lum. It's interesting. You notice that Nate said breastfeeding and Megan said nursing. Just same word. Different word, same thing. Let's see. I feel like that Twitter gets kind of testy with you when you go out. When you're pushing too many buttons for it. Back to Nate. Very interesting. Let's see what y'all are having to say in the chat. A lot of boob jokes on here. Hey, Lori C, KJ, Mary Schrader, Sadler. Not saying that, I'm sure. Fancy Nancy, Just Me, Jet Set J, Holly, Mel Mac, Just Me, THX1138, glad you're here. Bewitch, glad you're here. Diana L. I'm going to try to come on the days that I can and kind of just do a little review. I know that once, court lets out, Nate will go on live and Lauren will go on live, and I don't know who all will go on live. But by the time Fancy Nancy, my mom's okay. She just drank too much of that dang what do you call it? That Mountain Dew. Lord, I don't like the taste of Mountain Dew, but if I thought it would put a fire under me to get a bunch of work done, that woman has done a bunch of stuff. She woke up wanting to rearrange furniture. I'm just saying, I don't like the taste of them. They're too, I don't know. I don't like the taste of it, but I guess it's a dose of something. But I don't think it's good for my mother to maybe have that stimulant like that. She has she has AFib, and she has to be careful. Hey, Holly, I'm glad you did find us through Lauren. You subbed during Chad's trial. Well, we're glad you're here. And last night, Krisha was taking us through some of the different things that we're going to be seeing. And she feels like, I don't know exactly what she feels like because I'm not trying to be in her head, but I got that she feels like that when this trial comes to an end, that we won't still be remembering them, and it won't be the same as it being so fresh. And of course, these people are not going to let nothing. They're going to be appealing it from here on out. But the point I'm trying to make is that it took a long time for the other stories, like the stories of the Lafferty brothers or some of the other murders that took place in that area of the United States. It took a long time for their stories to come out and be told, and still we're learning things about them. So this story is going to be alive for long after all of us are dead, probably, because even at present, you can't listen to any true crime channel talking about any true crime, murder, or anything that the people don't at some point say, like Chad and Lori Daybell, they compare it in every time. You can't listen to any true crime that they don't bring it up. And so this is not going away. And there's much more to dig on, to find out about, to add together. And I'm not sure how it's all going to add up together. It's like Krisha sees a lot of connections, but like she said, if anything shows us that our future could be different than what we think it might want to be, or what it's what we've been through in the past. Because we've had so many ideas in the past, we thought this is going to work out this way, and a whole different thing happens. So, we're going to study about this for a long time, and I hope we do find out exactly how it all adds up and how these murderers relate to one another. And it's just that it seems like that for this story and so many other stories, it's so unthinkable, it's so uncomfortable to talk about, that it's much easier just to turn our heads away and say the devil did it. And the devil did do it, but the devil has to have an opening. Do y'all hear my train? I have a train about a block away. So hang on now. Let me see what Nate and them are saying. Okay, Nate, what are you saying here? Okay. So 4 minutes ago, one juror stated, this is Nate is saying this. One juror stated that they will not be willing to view evidence during the trial. It's likely Charles Vallow's autopsy photos will be shown as the medical examiner is on the witness list. This person is excused. Okay. Then 1 minute ago, Nate says that the judge notes that it's noon and says that in about 10 more jurors, that there are about 10 more jurors numbers to get through. I apologize about my train, y'all. That's funny. Surprised you didn't hear my church bells. Oh, so Justin says that he's got an interview coming up with Rachel Smith, who helped convict Lori Daybell. So that'd be very interesting for us to listen to, too. Maybe we'll watch that after a while. We let everybody get their views in on Justin, and we'll give commentary about that maybe later today. So Justin's, okay, that's 14 minutes ago. We already said that. So he says that we'll need 12 jurors and 6 alternates. I thought that they said 4 alternates, but that'd be 18. Y'all, Brutus is moving around too. Brutus is moving around too. Let's see what Megan, if she's got any. She comments also about the juror who's unwilling to see autopsy photos. And, good on them for knowing that about themselves. Most people don't even know that much about their own selves as to know about what would freak them out and what wouldn't. So let me go back and read some more of your comments. I will do better tomorrow. I will prepare some things to talk about in between while we're waiting on train, whistles, lawnmowers, airplanes. Reminds me of my childhood. I didn't hear the lawnmower now, but I definitely got the train whistles over here and church bells. In fact, I didn't hear it a while ago, but the church bells ring every hour or so. Denise Gray says, I pray the judge agrees with Nate's attorney for him not to be a witness. Me too. That's great. What did he witness anyway? Thank you, Fancy Nancy. You're doing a great job, sweetheart. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's see. I'm going to have to get... Trace and them. I bet Trace and them have this, but they're probably, my phone is filled with probably lots of messages from them that I'm not getting because I lost my dang phone. Okay. 47 seconds ago, Nate says that the judge reads a final juror number for this morning. The person will not be looking... will be willing to look at evidence. Will not. Okay. The person would not be willing to look at evidence. The juror is dismissed. There are 52 candidates who advanced from this morning, Berinsky says. So that's pretty good. Let's see what Justin has to say. I feel like that they'll probably be ending that pretty soon so they can do that motion hearing. Justin Lum says, the last jury questionnaire for this morning, Judge Berinsky sees a hardship issue and state is concerned about question 11, indicating that they don't want to look at this type of evidence. The jurors excuse. Okay, so there's a question on there about that. And Justin says, 1 minute ago, the judge says we have 52 in the pool, and that's pretty good. Lunch break. So they're taking a lunch break. Okay, let's see what Megan has to say. Megan has the same comment. The judge indicates that it's a lunch break and we have 52 potential jurors if he has struck them correctly. Let's get back over here and see who all's in our who was in our chat. La Mesa Filipino Food Club is here. Thank you very much. And Mormons and bells. Well, the bells were for me. Madly in love with Jesus. The bells were for here, and they have nothing to do with anything really. Holly, I expect that Nate or Lauren will give a live now. And I was really hoping if I had a way to get. Hang on a minute. I'm going to send. I'm going to send Tracy a link and see if I can get her to come on. Invite. Let's see. Y'all hang on. I'm going to try to send Tracy an email since my phone don't work, but I can send a dang email from my computer. Okay. So I'm sending Tracy an invite to come on. I hope she gets it. And well, you can, but Lamecia, I'm not gonna. There's like things about YouTube that are ethical and unethical and good manners and whatever. And while it's okay for us to like view Nate or them after they're done with their live, we can't like just restream them while they're having their live. That's will get us in trouble. So we have to wait till they're done. But I was hoping that Trace would come on with us and we could have her own live and she could tell us what she thinks. And of course, some of y'all will want to go on and see Nate and them, and that's fine. But I can't just restream them while they're live. There's a name for that. I forget now what it is, but you can't do that. I mean, you can do it, but it's frowned upon. Nate said 3 minutes ago, lunch break until 1:30. p.m. Arizona time. Motions will be discussed, including my name on the witness list. There will be a camera for this afternoon session, and we will post the video as soon as we have it. It will not be live. Okay. All right. So that means it's okay. Let me look. Okay, y'all talk amongst yourself while I go and look something up about 12:13. Okay, so they're 2 hours in front of us. This always gets me mixed up because in Phoenix right now it is 12:13, and where I am it's 2:14. So it's an hour and 15 minutes. An hour. So it's an hour and a half yet till they're gonna have the afternoon. But I'm sure that they will. That either Nate or yes, and after they get finished, like if they do a live or whatever, I can restream some of their stuff, and we just have to comment on it. But when they're doing it at the same time, we have to let them, like, it wouldn't be fair for us to be taking up their views. Yeah, I get so mixed up on this time thing. I barely can walk around in the time I'm in. I am in Central Time Zone. It is 2:15 where I am, but it appears to be 12:15 in Arizona. So that's an hour and 15 minutes yet for everybody. Yeah, send Tracy a bat signal. I have lost my phone, y'all. I'm not even going to tell you what a dumb thing I did, but I went walking this morning and I put my phone in my pocket, and my pocket doesn't seal up good, and there it went. And I mean, I don't know that's how I lost it, but it's gone. And I had it on silent still. And so it was an old phone, but I was going to use it for a while yet. Oh, she says Arizona doesn't recognize the time zone. So that's what's got me all mixed up. It doesn't have daylight savings time. So that's how come it's got. Huh. Fancy Nancy, I wanted to tell you, my granddaughter made a 34 on her ACT. And she has a 4.6 grade point average because she's in AP classes and does extra credit. What'd you do with a brain like that? Should we make her into a school teacher? I know. I can't believe it. I was like, I asked her, I was like, what are we going to do with that great big brain of yours? She's getting letters from MIT and Harvard and Yale. I told her, I was like, don't do that. Don't do what? What am I not supposed to do? Oh my gosh, but she doesn't know what she wants to do with that big brain of hers. And I sure want it to get focused as quick as it can. math or science. She's a doctor now. That's awesome, Diane. I don't think she wants to be a doctor, but she's a problem solver. She can, like, if something's going on, she can just be like, sitting there, and she will just, like, we'll all be trying to figure out something, and she'll just, like, put it into 2 sentences that boils it down to what it needs to be. So I know she has that ability about her. That's great. He's in specialized STEM program. I was like, be a lawyer. I really think that she wants to be in a political, what do you call it? Say, a person who goes and helps do contracts for the government and stuff. I'm trying to remember what that's called, but I look it up. I looked up. You'd have to get like a political science degree to do that sort of thing. Engineering. It's like we all wanted to go to school, but we don't want her to go to school all the way across the country. But we do, really, if that's what it is. If you had it to do over again, you go into law or medical. I'm we really, need that. Can you show if I did a live stream now, Floyd? Yeah, I could. If it's okay with you, I'll definitely do it. You want me to do one of your we could do one of your little skits. Is that what you mean, KJ? I would love for you to come up here, but I don't have a phone to send you a dang I guess I could put the invite in the thing. I could put it in the and then we could delete it out. You want to do that, KJ? Okay. I mean, right now, live, sure. Yeah, KJ. There's a link, KJ, if you want to come up. Yay! I want her to have a wig. Or what? Yes, that. Oh my God, we just love our KJ. I don't know how we'd ever got through any of this without her. While KJ's getting her wig, I am going to see what else Nate is thinking. Now, KJ, I put a link in the thing. Are you going to go on your channel and we just do it from it? Let's see. I better pay attention. You never know what this girl might be up to. Okay. No, that's not the one. Okay. Oh boy. Well, there she is.
Oh, this jury duty. These people don't realize what I've been eating in the jail all this time. I need some real food, but we're having to pick all these jury members. Ugh.
You didn't get your hot pocket today?
I didn't do it. And I didn't do nothing. I was nowhere. I'm innocent. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to tell you exactly what kind of juror that I need to sit at this trial now that I am the attorney and I am the pro se. You ready to hear it? The juror that I need is one that looks beyond this world. It's got to be someone who, could see themselves in a different life. Someone who could, accept that I've lived 5 lives on this planet and 21 total. I mean, I haven't named the other planet that I've been on, but, I absolutely need people who are willing. They've got to be willing to open their minds. And I'll tell you another thing that I need. I need a big, burly man on the jury. It's been so long since I've seen the masculinity. It's the feminine side. It's just there's too much competition in the jails, and so whenever I can get close to the male species, I feel like that they're going to see my side of things and everything is going to work out. Another thing that I need as a juror is someone who understands what it feels like to be a hooker. I need a couple of women on the jury that understands what it feels like to do the things that they do. I would go into it a little bit more, but I better watch my P's and Q's. I was raised in a Mormon home. Also, I think I need someone who's willing to accept that I am absolutely a goddess. I am a lowercase g, and me and my black outfit and my black band on my hand, because Chad is my man. They need to understand that I am underneath it all wearing a stun belt. I'm hoping they'll give me a shock. You know what I'm talking about, huh? Huh? I need a little vibration going. It's been so long since I don't even remember the last time that I have felt affection, the natural and good ways. Also, I need a juror who hates little children, considering that I am a serial killer of children, my own children. I need someone who, kind of looks up to a serial killer. They've got to be able to see me for, the writing on the wall, that I had to do what I had to do, but they're going to find me not guilty. Also, I need a juror who hates authority, ones that don't like law enforcement and government and all that. It wasn't hard for me to suck the tit of government every chance I could get, but I had to bleed the dragon, don't you know? And finally, in terms of jury selection, my big investigator there, y'all see that guy, that big burly guy sitting behind me, kind of bald. I think he's got the hots for me, but he's been giving me tips, while he's looking down my shirt. I think that it just comes down to the fact that these women in the jails, in the prisons, it's going to take them a while to be totally immersed with my beauty. But the men, of course, I've got to have lots and lots of men on the jury. And so, I think it'll go well. I've got, divinity. I mean, I walk the streets of Jerusalem. I've got that all in my corner. So I think that this trial's going to go really well. Does anybody have any questions for me now that I'm doing jury selection? Anybody? Come on. Donna, do you want to read anything out? I guess Donna had to go do something. Well, okay. I'm going to leave it with this. I think Donna is doing an incredible job, and as far as I'm concerned, jury selection. They've got 50 plus, and I'm going to get rid of all the ones that are good, innocent, wonderful people. I don't want that kind of vibe. I want evil, diabolical people on the jury who will feed my demon.
Thank you so much, KJ, for coming up and talking to us and giving us a cleaning our palate of all this terribleness.
I just thought since we were having to wait on lunch break that I would throw it in there. I absolutely didn't know I was going to do that, but that's ad lib. That's performance art. But how's everybody on here doing it good? Doing fine? All that?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Let me
other
see. I,
than
I haven't even looked on the comments.
throwing my phone away, other than that, I'm doing okay.
Fancy Nancy says Serta mattress.
Oh,
Mary
Lord.
Sadler. When Mary Sadler says, "I do what's gonna happen with the portals." Yes, there you go. Donna, is your mom doing good?
My mom is doing good. I'm just saying, if y'all have not tried some diet Mountain Dew, that stuff must be like crack to old people because this woman has not sat down since she had some of that Mountain Dew. I was like, you cannot have any more Mountain Dew.
Hey, I have one short Red Bull a day. I have one short Red Bull a day. I know they're not healthy, folks, but I'm gonna tell you what: caffeine with coffee and all that, it gets the soreness out of me. You know, I gotta have my caffeine.
Me too. I'm a
The
cat.
sugar,
Mhm.
it hypes me, but I'm already hyper, so it's usually like that for me. But I think it's fascinating, and Donna, you're doing a great job. It's fascinating to hear Nate and Justin and Megan Connor tweeting about all this. It's a damn shame that they can't show this on a live stream because this is part of the adjudication process. And I think people, I mean, I understand the jurors don't need to be seen and all that, but you can have it to where they're not looking at the jurors. But then again, I guess they've got to, I wasn't thinking about this, but probably the names of the people, they probably say their name and stuff, you think?
They probably do. They probably do. I don't know if they no, they give them numbers. They do. They give them numbers in there. But still, I understand because we're doing good, I guess, to get to see any of it with the way they are. But I love the fact that we're getting a perspective from like three different people because even though they're kind of telling the same story, what stands out to them sometimes is different. And can you believe that they have nursing mothers and sometimes you got to damn look at a murder and then go back there and pump and then oh my God, that's got to like I just can't even think about how that hard that would be on a woman to have to do all that.
I mean, didn't they dismiss her?
They did, but I'm just saying he covered it before he said, but I do provide a room for that. I was like, oh my God.
Well, of course, because they've got to. I mean, in all public spaces, they should have
Right.
that available for all mothers. But I think that I totally get what you're saying, and she definitely, whoever she is, bless her heart, being
Like,
called in for jury duty and all of that. I mean, that's
you'd
crazy.
almost have to have a nanny or a grandma that was willing to have be full time or something. Because if you got a baby that's that little, I mean, and somebody's taking care of them and taking the pumped bottles over there, you know. I just that's
I guess the larger question is would Lori want a nursing mother on her jury because
no
she's
way.
a serial killer of children. And even though this trial is about Charles Vallow, make no mistake, somehow, some way, through her dang stupidity, if the state does not get in 404B material, she's going to open that door for that, especially if she testifies. Which I'm still torn about it. In one part of me is saying yes, she'll testify no matter what because this is her last hoorah. But another side is that she actually, and I don't believe it, but some people say she actually believes she's going to win this case. So I'm torn on that, but I mean, the bottom line is that she's definitely getting help from her Daybell advisors or defense team or however you want to look at it.
I don't understand why, like, according to what witness list we've seen, that none of the Melanies are going to be called in. They're not even going to talk about all that pre planning and crap about praying for him to die and all that. I mean, it seems like to me that's key.
Yeah, it is, Donna, but I think that the state of Arizona, all they have to do is show those videos of Charles begging law enforcement to get his wife help. And I think that this was a calculated move from the state of Arizona's prosecuting team there to kind of, not just make it so big that 5 weeks is a long time in my opinion, but they whittled it down, and that to me is something I feel good about, because they could have added all those other witnesses, and there was never any court documents that says no, you can't have these other witnesses. This was the state's list. I never remembered any hearing where they said no, you can't have Melanie Pulowski or Melanie Gibb or Zulema. So they purposely whittled down the witness list to prove a point. And I know we all want to hear from them again. I'd love for Lori to cross-examine Melanie Gibb and Zulema. The bottom line is they decided to do it this way, and I'm really fascinated with that. What was her name? The Hancock woman, the one that went out with Charles the night before he was murdered. I'm interested in other that I mean, common sense says that she's going to testify that he explained to her what was going on with Lori, and perhaps even told her, if something happens to me, she did it, or she threatened to kill me or something, because any other testimony, it would have to be about what Charles told this woman, about Lori. It would have to be for it to even be relevant. So that's going to be interesting. And then, you've got Kay Woodcock. Now, I mean, if nobody else was on the state's witness list, I mean, it is a laugh that Lori is trying to exclude Kay Woodcock from testifying, saying that she has no firsthand knowledge, when in fact, Lori had called Kay and bitched and whined about not getting the $1 million. And that is crucial in and of itself. Kay Woodcock is going to nail her ass to the wall. Pure and simple. Going to nail her ass to the wall.
I think so too. And I know you're right. We want all of it to come out again. We want it all to hear the details. I mean, we want to know what the hell they did, but if they were there, but it's not going to come out, and it's not necessary for them to find her guilty probably.
Well, how about this? Try this on for size. We still have Brandon Boudreaux's trial. Who's going to be at that one? You think Melanie Pulowski is going to be called there? I
Mm.
mean, I don't see her going on the stand saying, yes, my Aunt Lori had this plan and I went along with it, but she would almost have to be there. I mean, you can't leave the ex-wife, the connection, out of Brandon Boudreaux's trial, especially when Brandon Boudreaux goes on the stand and has to tell the state, or the defense for that matter, how did this person that shot at you, which everyone believes was Alex, and we know it was, how did he know to go there? How did he know what time you would be there and all of that? When he got into town, the first place he went was to Melanie Pulowski's. And so, I don't know that Zulema or Melanie Gibb or David Warwick or Audrey Baratario or any of them knew about this at all, about Brandon Boudreaux. But what really does it really is the fact that they've got that storage unit video. This is, I mean, it's just clear as crystal. And we absolutely didn't see, did we see that storage unit video in Chad or Lori's trial? Did we?
I'm thinking about it. I don't know.
I don't think it was. I think it was brought up about Brandon Boudreaux, but they never actually played that storage unit video. And
And
that
see, that's
right
another
there,
thing. I don't see how you can bring that in and not cause the jury to go, well, who's this man that's helping talking about Chad? You know what I'm saying? That's got to.
it's going to be nearly impossible. It's going to be nearly impossible to leave out that 404B material because all of that is intertwined. Let me just put it to you like this. Is the state of Arizona just going to focus in on Alex and Lori and then somehow be able to leave Chad Daybell out of it? Because part of their evidence is what? She texted Chad and said what, Donna?
Say that again.
What did Lori text Chad about the life insurance?
That that she didn't get it, but she was going to have that other money available to
Right.
her.
So that is damning. Remember when we got rid of him?
Oh yeah, because
Okay,
why
so
are they even worried
that's,
about it, counting on it, if they
yeah.
didn't know he was going to quote die?
Remember when she said he must have changed before we got rid of him? Remember
Yeah.
that? He must have changed the insurance before we got rid of him. Those
Yes.
were the exact words in the text message to Chad Daybell, which is damning. So you cannot leave Chad Daybell out of this. And perhaps, Donna, maybe because some of that, I mean, if not all of it, maybe not the details, but the fact that they've got those convictions and all that coming in, that is why the state of Arizona maybe trimmed their state's witness list, because in and of itself, those other convictions, Chad Daybell, all of that is just damning. And maybe they just don't want to have to go and call all these witnesses and open up this great big Pandora's box again and let Lori get in there and do what she does best, manipulate people by cross-examining Melanie Gibb or cross-examining Zulema and stuff and making the state look stupid. Like, remember, Donna, remember when I said the state of Idaho was relying on Zulema and Melanie Gibb and how it disgusted me because of that?
Yes.
I mean, it turned out fine because Chad's attorney, John Pryor, and also Archie there could only do so much. They couldn't do too much. The way that the state asked the questions to Zulema and Melanie Gibb and stuff, the defense can only ask within that frame of questioning. They can't go outside of that. So the bottom line is yes, I would love to see all of these cult members and these kooky ass freaky circus people come into this, but the best we're going to get in this trial of Charles Vallow is Audrey Bartario. Or is it Christina Atwood? That's who it is. Not Audrey Bartario. It's Christina Atwood. Excuse me. I mean, what's the difference, right?
Yeah, they're the same.
But it's Christina Atwood, and the question really is what is Christina Atwood going to testify? And remember, who was it that said that Lori and Alex said they had crushed pills up in Charles's drink? Who said that?
Was it Christina Atwood?
It was Christina Atwood when she was in her interview.
Oh, that's right.
Detective Ron Ball.
And she said she told Lori to not be doing that, and that's probably what got her kicked out of the group too.
Oh yeah. The question is why wouldn't she go and tell somebody?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't she go to Charles? Why wouldn't she go to law enforcement? You do that again, it's Lori, and I'm going to have to tell the police or something. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And that's supposed to get her off the hook? Lori's going to have a heyday with her. And I'm glad. I hope that this woman puckers on the stand. I hope her ass puckers.
She deserves to feel uncomfortable. All of them do, because they all lifted up Chad and Lori. If they'd have never done that, Chad and Lori couldn't go on to say, look, we're the king and queen of the 144,000. Unless what? People believe that, or want to believe it, or encourage it, or get in their stupid circles and pray the demons away. Give me a break.
People, they have blind commitment to people without knowing all the details, and uh,
It's not having an anchor, really. It's not it, they have no anchor there. It's like no boundaries to them in their minds or something. They're able to say, because they're not, I mean, they don't know that they don't have an anchor, these people. We call, all of us call it being vulnerable and stupid, or just able to, just weak-minded people, but I mean, they know what they did. All of them know what they did. Serena Sharp, another one, a kooky woman getting on airplanes to go meet with the king and queen.
crazy.
All this thing. Remember her interview? That was some crazy stuff. And yet the state of Arizona has to rely on Christina Atwood and Serena Sharp. And that's so unfortunate, because these people are nuts. These people are open. I mean, they're walking our streets. And if they'll believe in that, and the only reason they weren't still around with Chad and Lori is because Chad and Lori got away from them.
Yeah, they were upset about it. Oh, where did they go? They're gone. They've left us here.
Yeah. And they wanted to say that the reason, I think Serena Sharp was the one that said the reason that she got booted out is because she wasn't going to Lori about things. She was calling Chad. And Lori didn't like that. And so, it was, they all wanted to be in the club. They all wanted to get in their little circle and say that they knew that these other people had evil in them, and let's pray it away and all this and that. Oh yeah, we're going to pray it away, but at the same time, we're going to tell you that we put medications in Charles's drink. I mean, that is supposed to be a godly thing. That's supposed to be something that people can look to as the answer. Give me a break.
Yeah, that's just making people's life just, dispensable. It's like you are not needed for the rest of mankind to carry on, so I'm just going to delete you. It's
Well, it's narcissism on
yes.
steroids. It really is what it is, and it ain't just Lori and Chad.
No.
I believe, and this is just an opinion, y'all. Y'all might disagree, but I think that some people are drawn to certain religions because of their narcissism. And
Yes.
narcissism is a weakness. It's a weak-minded, not reality thing. People don't owe you crap. You owe other people by being there for others. That's what the real God wants. The real God wants people to love others and put themselves aside in healthy ways. I'm not saying let people walk on you or use you. I'm talking about that if you don't have that part of you inside that says, I want to be there to help other people in just the smallest way, even if it's just a smile in somebody in the grocery store or something like that. If you don't have that urge inside to bring out something good for someone else, you might need to check yourself. That's just an opinion, though. And who am I anyway? I fail every day. I fail every day, but by goodness, I do my E for effort. And, all I can do is put effort. Does that mean I'm going to succeed? No. But I'll tell you this right now. Lori and Chad and Zulema and Melanie Gibb and Melanie Pulowski and all the rest, David Warwick, Serena Sharp, Audrey Bartario, people like Jason Mao, other people. I mean, we could go down a whole laundry list, and there are people today that are still doing this in terms of believing this crap. And hey, I'm the first to say people can believe whatever the hell they want to believe. But when it steps over the line of legality and hurts other people, that ain't faith to me. That ain't nothing real. That's just evil. That's wrong. It's bad. And that's, I mean, that's common sense. That's not judgment. You see
Well,
something, you see it.
people,
Everybody on this channel knows what good and bad is.
yes,
I
yes.
guarantee you that.
Whenever people, usually cult type people, they look for people who are vulnerable and they try to fill that need. Like if you've got a death in the family or something like that, and they try to fill the need while you are vulnerable. Also, I
Well,
KJ,
tell me right now, how was Lori the hussy Daybell vulnerable? She had everything in the world. She
that
had
was
a
a made
beautiful
up.
family. She had a beautiful husband who loved and adored her.
No, she
She
was
had
not.
money. She had everyone's attention. She was getting her narcissism absolutely fed every single day of her life.
She's the aggressor. She's the predator. She is not the victim, but she names herself the victim by trying to like tell these stories about, oh, I was treated so bad by this one and that one, and it's a made up story. I have known of a person, and I don't think she killed anybody, but she could have. Who was the kind of person who I thought when I knew, I thought she has had more bad things happen to her, and people were so mean to this lady, and she was talented. She could sing, she could dance. I thought, why would anybody? But as it turned out, it was all a manipulation. Why would a person who's talented and pretty and all that need to do that? It is something damn broke inside of them that
I agree. And Donna, you've always seen things really well, but I'll tell you it like this. This is the best example I can give you. She went on and on and on. You remember that recording that Melanie Gibb did when they first met, and they went to Melanie Gibb's in-home meeting, and she talked about what Joe Ryan had done to her and how much of a victim she was, and how she became the warrior of the millennia and all this and that. Did she bring up to that group of people anything about, well, I was in the hospital and I died and I left my body having Tylee and all this? You would think if that really happened, she'd have been talking about that a long time ago. That's the first time she'd brought that up, you know, about being on in a hospital bed and how her, she left her body. You know what I'm talking about, right?
right, and it's almost exactly a quote from I think that other lady, Julie Rowe wrote a book, and that's exactly what she said happened to her. I think it was Julie Rowe, about how she died in her body when she was having a baby and all that. So Lori used that story. She grabbed a hold of that story whenever it was uh, helpful to her. She didn't need that story before that time, I guess, because at the according to her interview, as soon as her eyes laid eyes on Chad Daybell, she remembered all these things and all where she had been and who she'd done and this, that, and the other. But her stories don't line up. And I don't know how you can beat the woman into admitting that her stories don't line up. But I mean, it's just even to try and say that JJ and Tylee died on the same day. They did not. And there's like we have scientific evidence these days. We didn't, you can talk some shit, but we got scientific evidence about how long things take and when people died and all that. Plus the pictures of them. Last day to, we saw them and all that.
Well, all the stories, it's hard to keep up with your lies. It's
Oh,
especially,
yeah.
but some people could say, well, KJ, she did say that, she did tell somebody that Charles was already dead and being invaded by this Ned Schneider. Lori could have convinced herself that that's what she really meant, that, but then you add the suicide and the accidental killing and of JJ and all that. It's crazy. And the bottom line is this: that she's making all this up, and that she knows deep in her heart and mind what she did when she says that, oh, Tylee had pancreatitis and she just hurt all her life. It's almost like she should have just been saying, I put her out of her misery so she could go on to meet God and be in heaven and be busy and all of this stuff. If you really stop and think about why she makes the sentences, the verbalness and the content of what she's saying, you line that up with what she says she believes, and it makes no sense
Oh.
whatsoever. And lies never do make sense.
And two, see, if you've known a person for a long time that lies like that, whenever you hear a recent lie, just say, "Oh well, I know that's not true because of the." No, the first thing probably wasn't true either. It's crazy. And KJ, when I went through this personally and realized that I was being lied to, there was like it was a huge. This person is like semi prominent. Let's say she's a big fish in a small pond, as far as entertainment and stuff in Memphis. And she had a lot of people and a lot of influence. And when I realized that I was being lied to, I was like, who the hell can I even tell this to that will believe me? And believe me, it was like 2 years of people not believing me and me being shunned by a good group of people until this woman broke up another marriage and this, that, and the other. And then it was like, oh gosh, Donna was not lying about that bitch. And still I'm like,
It's hurtful.
it is. And you almost don't know, because I loved this person and did not know she was this way but I know she was this way. She didn't just turn up this way. She was that way, but I didn't see it. I didn't and I was mean to people on her account. You know what I'm saying? She would say, well, so-and-so is giving me the stink eye and she's mean to me. And I'd give her a stink eye back. And the person was probably a very nice lady. So I've had to go back and say, apologize for how I acted immaturely following a narcissist. I was a damn, what do you call it? A flying monkey or whatever. And
I can't imagine you being that way.
oh my gosh, it is really mean and destroys you. You're just because I never had a quote best friend that sucked me in like she did. Like talking about when she talks to you, she's looking at like you're the only person on whole earth. It was weird, and I had to break up with her like breaking up with a man. It was not a relationship like what I'm talking about, sexual or anything, but it was so close that I had to like almost give her a damn Dear John letter to break it off.
It's hard when people lie. It's even harder when a person's lies have destroyed other people before you came to your senses. And
Yes.
you can imagine what it felt like, even for Lori's family, if they didn't know anything, which that's up for debate. Look at Kobe, look at Kay and Larry, other people that Lori lied to.
And you
The
don't
way
wake up all at once. You get like little bits of it and you're going, well, now, huh? And it takes a while for you to see the whole picture. And that's why, like, Adam and all these people who, like, are, quote, Latter day Saints, but they know a little bit of this crap is not exactly right. It takes a long time for you to let it all in and admit that you've been lied to your whole life. I'm sorry, LDS people. I'm not talking about all of y'all, but I'm talking about there's a certain number of people who are carrying on some shit that they are lying about.
I agree. But ultimately, you got to understand, Donna, that whether it's religion, whether it's just whatever life subject we're talking about, everybody goes through these. Oh my God, I can't believe, I allowed this person you know, to lie to me and to deceive me. It's very painful, especially when love is involved. When you give your love to somebody and it's met with a lie, that is so hurtful. That is such a hurtful thing, because I don't know about you, but when I love people, I just expect that they're gonna see that I really love them, and hopefully, if I'm lucky, they can love me back. If not, that's okay too, because I'm going to love them. Because love is unconditional. Love is God. Love is of God. And so, I do what I can do, but the raising others know, as fallible and as imperfect and as messed up as OKJ can be from time to time, I would never, ever want to hurt somebody that I love. Not that I haven't in my past. I have. And sometimes we hurt people that we weren't even intending to do it, but we found out that they got hurt, and that wasn't our intention at all. But should it mean that they shouldn't be hurt? No, if they feel like they're hurt, they're hurt. And that has to be accepted and understood from their feedback and their understanding of things. Because if it was all about, everybody's going to think the same way, or, if they don't think like me, then the hell with it. The biggest lesson I ever learned is I cannot assume that other people think like me or that they can understand me. I
Right.
can't, just because I'm sitting here talking to you right now, Donna, and thinking I am clear as a whistle about what I'm talking to you about. What if there's someone on here that's like, what the hell? What the
Exactly.
hell's this woman saying? You
I,
know?
I think the most important part, though, KJ, is even though people do have differences and stuff, is to be genuine about it. If I know someone has a different opinion than me, I'm accepting of that. But if I'm trying to like add on like that they are trying to be mean and have a different opinion, or that they're like having an agenda and being a different opinion, that messes with my brain. I just need to let them be genuine and be genuine back, and hope that we can have it that way. Because if people are not being genuine, and I think that's the main problem, is like, if I don't trust this one, I don't trust him, that political person, that is that we don't believe they're genuine. It's not that we probably don't even have, like, our ideas about how things are going to be better might be kind of the same, but we don't trust who's trying to do it. And so I think we need to be careful about always accusing people of having a bad sometimes they're just genuinely wrong. You know what I'm saying? They're just wrong. They don't have a they're not
Yeah, but with that being said, when someone thinks, if a lot of people say, the majority of people say that person is wrong, there's always going to be one out there that says, no, they're innocent. Lori is innocent. There's going to be somebody out there
That's right.
there's never going to be 100% consensus. If I make the blanket statement that Lori is evil and diabolical, there's going to be somebody on this thread or somewhere down the road that's going to say, no, KJ, it's got nothing to do with evil. It's got to do with mental illness, or, she just, whatever. Everyone has a right to their views. But folks, let me tell you, this woman wouldn't be on trial for the second time, and then after that, going to be on trial for the third time. Death follows this woman because she chose it. She absolutely stepped into it. This goes back to what we said about 10 minutes ago about what possible thing could have happened to Lori to make her vulnerable to Chad Daybell. What other than her mental illness got exacerbated, and she finally snapped. That this was something over a period of time. I remember several years ago that it was said by family members that, they just went along with her kooky ideas as long as she was doing right, and she was, and taking care of herself and her family and stuff. They just let her think and say what she wanted, which was her right to have. But, over a period of time, you don't face it with the person you love. I mean, Kobe, he did an interview with Nate Eaton, and he said that he was driving 11 hours up to Reno to a camp over the weekend, and she was driving him out there, and she brought up reincarnation and multiple probations. He shut her down, but yet he also said, I think my mom just wanted to throw these ideas out here to see what I would be okay with, and how she could go from that little, okay, there's a part of Kobe that's okay with this little itty bitty aspect. So I'll take that little bitty aspect and I'll expand on it and get in through like a slithering snake.
It's sort of like grooming.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like grooming. You just do it a little bit at a time and make a person okay with those kind of ideas. Um,
For religion, for the Mormon religion to believe in in a person's agency, and she was raised this way, she absolutely chose to murder her children, murder Tammy, murder Charles, attempt to murder Brandon, and I believe Joe Ryan. She chose to do these things. This was not a demon that took her over. A demon cannot take anyone over. They can step out of it. This is just my faith, y'all. Y'all might not even believe in demon possession, but I do. She let the demon in. She knows the demon is there. It's not like in her mind, like, oh, I've got a demon in here. She's been seduced by it. She loves it, the pleasure of it. You couple that with her mental health issues, it's all just a big old pot of crazy, uh, just bad. And
I don't think she was being vulnerable, though, was how Chad came along. I think that's what she wanted all along. I think she wanted a man who had more blood lineage in him, time in the church. I don't think that Charles or Joe, either one, were ever good enough for her because they weren't born in.
the question is why did she marry him? If that's really what she looked up to, if that's what she really looked up to, is she wanted one of these priesthood holders, one that was born and raised in it. Why did her, what, one, two, three, well, at least three marriages fail before she murdered her fourth husband? If that was really the pinnacle for her, I don't believe that it had. I mean, I would say it was in that background and everything, but I think it really had to do with she knew she wasn't getting no younger. She didn't, they'd already tapped out. Charles and anyone else, Wheel of Fortune, Mrs. Texas, she's tapped out. There's nothing more that anyone can do to basically worship this woman. And so she found this freaking country bumpkin, uh, ugly ass man that she knew would see her as a freaking, basically a goddess lover, or just arm candy, or whatever you want to call it. And she wanted the ultimate worship. And Chad Daybell absolutely worshiped the ground she walked on, and she made him feel like she worshiped him. But all along, Donna, I'll say it till the cows come home, all she ever had to do with Chad is say, no, Chad, you say that Tylee and JJ have zombies in them. Well, I've seen something because, I'm on equal foot with men. I'm the warrior beyond the millennia. And you're not going to get none of my, my poutine here if you don't go along with me, Chad. I think that Tylee and JJ's okay. She could have at any time done that. She did not have to do that. This was her idea. This was not Chad Daybell's idea at all, for her to murder her children for the money and get them out of the way so they could be together. This was Lori's idea. This was all Lori, because it would have to be. She was the mother. It would have to be. You would
I'm
have
just thinking
to
about
believe.
about Cresha and how, Cresha, this is all just us trying to figure it out, y'all. We don't know nothing really. I mean, we do know things, but what I mean is we don't know anything for
speculate.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, how this fits in with Cresha's belief that there are people who actually want to do these things, and they groom other people to join in so they can murder their kid and like videotape it and stuff. I mean, that's a thing that happens too. I mean,
I sit here and I say that's crazy, but have you read the news?
it's going on, baby.
I mean, have you read the news? As soon as you think you've heard the worst you've ever heard, something more devastating, something unthinkable something you didn't even think could happen that a human could do to another one. We see it all the time. And it's we're just immersed in it continuously. But the good news is anytime that I see any of this, I don't get numb to it. And I know many of y'all don't. It still breaks my heart. And I know it breaks a lot of other people's hearts too. And to me, that's a blessing. Because if you ever get to the point where you don't get just heartbroken over the evils of this world and what it does to these children or other people, something's wrong if it doesn't affect you. And I feel like it's a blessing that we still, at least, I can only speak for myself, that I still have a conscience and a heart about it. That it would be so easy for me to just say the hell with it. I don't care. It don't hurt me. It don't bother me that to see all these children getting murdered and and all this stuff. It's just it is what it is.
And I was listening to a YouTube channel, and it was another religion, but they were talking, it was a high control religion. They were talking about different things, and they said that they did a video or two on the demon possession and ritual murders and stuff. And they said that it got where it bothered them so bad and hurt their head so bad they just couldn't do any more of it. And I understand that, because I mean, like you said, if it gets to the point where makes sense to us, we would be in trouble, because it don't make any sense to normal people who love other humans.
Well, I honestly, they threw all of the 10 commandments out the window. Just even if you didn't want to believe in the 10 commandments, just common sense.
They didn't do the golden rule.
Don't murder people. Don't kill people. It's one thing to kill somebody. It's another to do it for evil reasons. Look at these soldiers over here in other countries that are having to kill other people. I'm sure it affects them tremendously. It's called war. And I don't think it should happen, but that's a whole different thing that I don't even want to go into. What I'm trying to make a point about is people are doing these crimes not by accident, but because they wanted something so bad that they weren't meant to have. And yet they thought they were, I guess, powerful enough or whatever to be able to say yes, whatever it takes. And when you want something you're not meant to have, the lengths that you will go to get that is devastating, because it can't be easy.
And it messes up everything to spend all your time wanting something that is not ever meant for you at all. Clearly, after a certain amount of time, no matter how bad you want something, it's just not meant for you. It's not healthy.
You see quite clearly that Lori was married and Chad was married, and yet they did all of that. And people want to say, well, that's what they had to do in order to be together. No. Chad could have got a divorce. She could have got a divorce. They could have went off to Hawaii, lived happily ever after in their own freaked out minds, left the kids with family members. There was a gazillion different things that could have happened that, the hell, how many times have people murdered their spouse simply because they didn't want the shame of a divorce? Give me a break. The shame of divorce is worse than murder.
That's an extortion kind of fits into these things too. And I just want to say this too. If anybody ever holds anything over your head, just don't let them. What could be worse? All these kinds of things. And this fits into this whole story too about my friend and stuff, because she came to me and she's like, well, I took some ugly pictures with me and my boyfriend, and we broke up. Now he's going to send her to my mama. I said, well, he wouldn't send her to my mama, not before I called her and told her about it. And she wouldn't look at him anyway if he did send them. You can end these things sometimes yourself by taking care of things yourself. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Don't let people hold something over your head that you need to get brought out into the air and take care of anyway.
They're passing laws for that here in Tennessee. They're passing laws all over the country. Revenge porn, they call it, or whatever. Trying to out people through, I guess I could just say it, they were in a relationship with somebody and they wanted to do something, a little spicy or whatever. And the next thing you know, they're holding it against you. Or you have a relationship with someone who ended up being a terrible person, but you didn't know it at the time, but they had a camera somewhere around the bedroom there and you had no idea that they were doing that and all of that. I mean, it just goes on all the time. And they're passing laws now about all of it.
It's crazy. Well, and turns out though, it turns out though that it wasn't pictures, that it was video, and that it wasn't her and her boyfriend. It was her and her boyfriend and the preacher and his wife. So I guess that would make it harder to tell your mama about.
Wow. Donna, after all at least the last 5 years of everything we've ever heard, you said that, but I don't know, maybe I'm just too old fashioned and that's why it hits me the way it does. Most people are like, oh, that's no big deal. There's things worse than that or whatever. And that's true.
Murdering people's worse than that. That's what I'm saying. Don't ever let anybody hold shit over your head like that. Because, it's just not necessary. Crap, people go to jail not for nearly enough long time for doing stuff worse that they're gonna kill somebody to hide.
Crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Well, Donna, I don't know. I guess they're going to be getting back here shortly off the lunch break.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and get off here so I can get back on the chat with everybody.
Okay, I sure appreciate you coming up.
I just love speaking with all of y'all. Donna, you're awesome. I love to chat with you. Everyone, just keep praying for Crescia and her family. I know you will. If you don't pray, I know you'll have good thoughts and support for her. And as I always say, and I'll go back into the chat, y'all, keep on looking.
All right, y'all. So let's see here what we got going on. See what's going on. Let's see if Nate's got anything to say since am I sharing this? You tab. No, okay, let me add this back in. I was trying to look and see what Nate was doing without y'all being with me. I think that my friend, my so-called friend, and the terrible thing I went through with her prepared me for what happened here. Let's see. Let's see. Well, let me see if I'm going to see if look, if Justin Lum is carrying it, I am going to do his. Y'all hang on with me. Y'all, I'm going to put some little background music in while I'm doing this so that, where's our feeling joke? I don't want that so loud though, and I don't know how to do the loudness. That's not it. Okay, hang on. Let's see. Let me see what's going on here in the comments. Okay, y'all, I'm looking to see if they're back from that. Let's see what Justin has to say. Well, he's not back, so I guess it's actually about 20 minutes. But let me see, I did have it. Oh, it says 42 minutes before. Just a few motions to be heard for sure. One of them in late 80s. I'm seeing what's going on over here. So it's 41 minutes now. Of course, you probably don't want me staying over here on her thing all the day long. Can't believe we've almost been doing this. Let me see. Let's see here. Let's see if Megan is. Did anybody notice if Megan or Lauren had gone live while we were at lunch? Because at this point, I probably would play some of theirs if they're already done. Especially Megan, she wouldn't care. This is not what I need to be doing. I appreciate y'all being patient with me. I should have practiced more before all this got started again. Ooh, Megan Connor. No, she's going to go on. Let's see. Oh, she did. Okay. So I'm going to turn our little bird singing little music off. And then I'm going to go over here. And I'm going to share this tab instead. And we're going to see what Megan, let's see. I'm going to put a copy of this in the, hold up. Hold, please.
Daybell's Arizona conspiracy trial. And I flew into Arizona this morning. I got up very early and my plane got here very early and the court didn't start until 10:30, but I met up with Tom Evans, juror number 18, who is walking past right there, and his wife. And we actually sat in the wrong courtroom for about 15 minutes before we realized that we were in the wrong place. And so we went to go find the right place. So I was a little bit late getting in there this morning. And I am reporting. Okay, good. People are here. Hi. Good to see you guys. I am reporting on my X account, trying to give kind of a blow-by-blow description of what's happening. And I'm going to continue to do that as much as I possibly can, but I am also going to come on during the lunch break, which is where we're at right now. And then at 1:30 local time, we go back in. We've done a round of jury selection this morning. There are no live jurors in the courtroom right now, but we have gotten through the first 200 jury questionnaires. So I think that only 163 of them were returned electronically. And so far, we went through all 163 of those and we're left with 52 potential jurors, which will be interviewed in person starting tomorrow. What are in person starting tomorrow? 1:30, what's going to happen in the courtroom is that we're going to hear Nate Eaton argue his motion to be removed from Lori's witness list. Lori noticed Nate Eaton as a potential witness in the case, and Nate says, I really don't have anything material to provide to the case, so I'd like to be excused so that I can cover the case. So as I came into the courtroom this morning, I noticed right away Justin Lum right up front, Nate, of course, Lauren from Hidden True Crime. I met a couple of really nice reporters from local stations here and representing Court TV. And so I'm getting to see and notice all of the reporters who were in the courtroom. There are quite a lot of them. I would say probably at least 15, all clicking away on their laptops. So there were a lot of people there. It'll be interesting to see how things fill up. This courtroom is much bigger than Judge Boreski's courtroom. There probably are a total of about 60 seats in here. So I'm hopeful that people won't have trouble getting in, but you know, having about 15 or so reporters here already, that doesn't leave a whole lot of room for the public, although I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It seemed like there was plenty of room for the days that I was in Idaho, and I guess we'll just have to see. Lauren was noticing that around 60 or so, maybe 70 of the jurors who were polled knew about the case, at least knew enough about the case that they were excluded from service, which was, Lauren was noting, a lot higher number than in Idaho. So it'll be interesting to see how the voir dire goes tomorrow when they start asking specific questions about how much they know about the case and what they've seen, what opinions they've formed. I do want to tell you guys, I guess the one big thing from today for me is that I was curious to see if Lori would look at me or if she would notice me. And just from the standpoint of like, I kind of want her to know that I'm here. I don't want to really communicate with her at all. I'm not allowed to communicate with her, but I was curious to know if she would recognize me. It's been about 10 years since I've seen her in person. And I will say there was a moment when the defense was having the state was having trouble with their technology. So we paused for a few minutes and Lori looked in my direction and we met eyes for just a very brief moment and there was no recognition on her face at all. So I thought, okay, well, she doesn't recognize me. She doesn't know that it's me. But after court adjourned, the judge left the courtroom. Lots of the reporters got up and left. Everybody that I was with got up and left. But I wanted to wait and see. I was curious, first of all, to know if they were going to lead Lori out of the courtroom, if the bailiff was going to lead her out, if they were going to put handcuffs or shackles back on her as she was led out of the courtroom. So I was curious about that. But I also just wanted to see if she would look my way or not. And she did. And it seemed like at first she wasn't really sure who I was, but when she did sort of a double take and looked back again, I did see some recognition there. So I think that she does know that I'm here. I think she knows that it's me.
So I'm stopping for a minute because we need to have commentary. And I really, really appreciate the point. Thank Megan so much. It's terrible that I stopped her right here. But yes, you need to subscribe to Megan. And I put the link in the stream. And she's doing a great job. We appreciate her being there. And also the fact that she said that let's listen very close to what she says about her looking at Lori and then Lori seeing her and her response about, oh, I'm muted. Okay. Y'all, I'm sorry. I was muted all that time. So here's the deal. I was saying that Megan was doing a great job here and we needed to have some commentary, and I was saying she was doing a great job, but I was really, really, really interested to hear this part about how she looked at Lori and Lori looked at her and how that made her feel. So I'm going to pull back just a second or two and say, okay, good. You did hear me? Well, good. That means this thing on my mic don't mean a dang thing. Okay, so hang on. I'm glad that I had to repeat myself, but let's move back just a little bit, just a little bit.
When she did sort of a double take and looked back again, I did see some recognition there. So I think that she does know that I'm here. I think she knows that it's me. And I can't really explain why that was important to me to have her know that I'm here. Maybe I'll figure that out as I do some journaling and some other talking and unpacking. So I'm glad that I'm here. I'm absolutely convinced that I'm in the right place, that I'm doing the right thing. I'm convinced that I need to be here and this is important to me. So I appreciate everybody's support. I can't really read comments very well because there's a glare on here. So if you have questions for me, please put them in the comments after the live because I will go back and read those comments afterwards. And I am going to be doing a recap at the end of the trial day every day that I'm here. Well, whether I'm here or not, I'm going to be doing a recap. My plans right now are to be here for the first 3 weeks. After that, the 4th week we're in recess, and then after that we'll just have to see how things go. But I am going to be doing a recap every day. The Nate Eaton hearing is right now. It's going to be in about 15 minutes, and I will be keeping track of that on X. I did make a post on YouTube this morning with my X handle on there, so you can go follow me over there. I know some people don't like that platform. I'm not a fan of it, but it is a really efficient way to get information out in real time. So that's why I'm using it. And I will be doing that for the hearing this afternoon. And then after.
So what I'm going to do now is, yeah, we really appreciate Megan. I don't want to use all of her video. Y'all later go and watch, subscribe and watch all of Megan's videos because she's she knows a lot about this case. She's Lori's cousin. She's known Lori her whole life. So it's fun. Everybody has their own story. We all live in this world together, but we interact, and sometimes we'll interact together as a group, but what we take away from that and what we remember, that's our own story. And so it's kind of interesting to hear that story from so many different directions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to X because I feel like even though they're not going to show the hearing, that Nate and them will be kind of telling what's going on, and maybe we can get something out of it that way. Is that okay? So what I'm going to do is, y'all hang on. Let's see. Present. Share screen. I probably do need to start something up and then go see about feeding my mother. Oh, my mother had that thing. If she can clean all that stuff, maybe she could figure out how to cut that lunch up that I made. I made us a little pizza, and I never got around to cutting it up for us. Okay. Justin. What do we know, Justin? Do we know anything? "13 minutes ago." So I can't wait for us to maybe review his thing with Rachel Smith, because he says that why prosecutors on Idaho case against Lori Vallow Daybell calls a pro se prosecutor's nightmare. Okay, Justin says 5 minutes ago, minutes away from this hearing, some interesting emotions to be heard. Join us in the waiting room from the stream. So that's what we're doing right now. I guess we could have done that, but it's I sure want to see that interview with Rachel Smith. Okay, so let's see what Nate's having to say. Boy, I bet that's going to be good. It's so much good stuff to watch. It's hard to tie yourself down. I appreciate y'all being with me this afternoon. Nate said 3 minutes ago that he's back in the courtroom for Lori Vallow Daybell. Judge is about to hear our motion to have me dismissed from the witness list. OBV. I won't be posting live updates during that portion as I'll be with our attorney, but my colleague Robert Patton will have the updates here. So I'm going to click on this Robert Patton boy because, I don't know. I'm following the links, y'all. Okay, let me go back over here. I think you sent me down a rabbit hole, Mr. Eaton. Okay. Megan's back in the courtroom, so let's read what she has to say. Megan said 5 minutes ago, the judge indicates that at lunch we had 52 potential jurors if he has to struck them correctly. Okay, cool. Then 3 minutes ago, Megan said, can y'all hear me? I want to make sure that I'm not just talking to myself here. Y'all can hear me. I've got all go. All systems are go. So Megan says that she's back in the courtroom for the Arizona conspiracy trial of Lori Vallow Daybell. This afternoon, we will hear Nate's motion to be removed from the witness list. My guess is Lori only listed him because she did not like his dogged reporting. I think that she's probably right. Okay, Megan says, day one jury selection. Just after the judge left for lunch, I lingered to see if Lori Vallow Daybell would recognize me. We met eyes 3 times this morning, and the last time it looked like there was some recognition. I'm glad she knows I'm here. Yeah, talking about she was told Megan that she would never be able to do her hair correctly. Cute little Megan. Can you imagine her talking that way to Megan? Let's see what Justin. Okay, now. So a few minutes we got here. Let's get back to, I'm going to see what the comments are around here. How y'all doing? Okay, I can't even find my way back to the dang room here. Beach Bum, I'm so glad you're here. Did you retrace your steps? I did retrace my steps on the sidewalk, Beach Bum. I did. I went back and then I had my neighbor drive me in the car where all I went. And then I got out and walked it again. I don't know. My phone is picking up my message. I mean, my computer picks up my messages because I have an Apple computer. I don't think that if you call me, my computer is picking up the phone. So if it was picking up the phone, then that would mean the phone was like nearby enough to have a signal in the yard or something. I'm just mad at myself. Okay. So I'm so glad you're here, Carolina Hertago and Jet Set J and Marta CB and 565 Mac. The X-Files, glad you're here. Canyon Jam, we're glad you're here. I've got some different earphones on today, and they are hurting my ear bobs. Oh, KJ, wasn't KJ we just enjoyed that so much. I can't believe that how much I did enjoy that. So let's go back and see if any of these folks have anything to say. Y'all, I'm going to put this on just so I can, just for a minute. Let's see.
Former prosecutor.
I'm going to put this on where I can go cut my mama's pizza. So let's first of all, let's get rid of this banner here. And, well, hang on, y'all. This is Fox 10 that I'm going to be playing, and I don't want them to give me a strike. So what I'm going to do is give them credit, y'all. Give them credit, y'all. There you go. Now I'm going to start this up, and I'm going to go cut my mom's pizza, and I'll be back.
Rachel Smith, former prosecutor on the Idaho case involving convicted murderer Lori Vallow Daybell. That was 2023. It's been a long time, Rachel. Thank you for joining us. You did a lot of hard work. That team did a lot of hard work. But it started with jury selection. What was that like, trying to find a pool of jurors that would be fair and impartial in a county where the crimes did not occur?
Justin, jury selection is hard in any murder case involving children. However, in the Lori Vallow case, there was an added layer of complexity. The media coverage, the public interest in the case, and the extensive search for the children created an environment where jury selection required the court and then the parties to review over 1,800 people. The jurisdictional size of Idaho and Boise in particular greatly increased the number of people who needed to be interviewed. It was one of the most complex voir dires that a prosecutor will ever have to do.
And I remember some of the questions. I mean, the questions had to be very specific. And I know that there were some people who had heard of the case, but maybe they weren't too sure about the information, but they'd seen the headlines about what had happened and how, JJ and Tylee have been found, big headlines, national headlines, but they just didn't know the facts of the case. That's where it gets kind of gray. Take me through that process when you're dealing with someone who just knows a little bit.
Well, when you're dealing with questions involving someone's review of a case, what they call is pretrial publicity questions, the court does an initial screening where they answer questionnaires. And those people who say they know a little bit about a case will then be questioned more extensively. You first ask and find out what their source of information is. And then once you know the source, then you question them specifically about what they saw, whether they formed an opinion as to the person's responsibility or lack thereof, and whether they can put that opinion aside. So you do some foundational questions with jurors to educate them on the importance of fairness, the importance of judging the case based on the facts only heard in the courtroom, and then you evaluate their response. And as a prosecutor, you evaluate their response, but the court is also doing that, as is the defense. And so when their responses are satisfactory, then they move on to the next stage.
And I'm sure you probably still remember some of the faces of that jury that was finally seated and speaking to them face to face and trying to tell this story, and through witness testimony. And all these witnesses come from different backgrounds, different ages, they're different people. Obviously, in the jury pool, you may favor someone that you want in the pool, and someone on the team may say, no, I want this person. And then you have the defense. I'm curious to know if you have insight on just what Lori was wanting. It felt like we didn't hear a lot from her in the first trial. And maybe it's because we're comparing to now where she's representing herself and very vocal.
Right. Well, we could tell who Lori wanted. Lori's very expressive. Her face would light up. She would make eye contact with certain jurors, predominantly men. And when she would make eye contact with them, she would attempt to get them to engage with her. It was pretty obvious what she was attempting to do. Lori has survived a long time throughout her life by manipulating and getting people, but in particular men, to do what she wanted. And so she applied those exact same tactics in jury selection in Boise.
And that is so fascinating that you say that, because we've seen so much evidence through Chandler and Gilbert, Idaho. I mean, you studied it. You were going through all of this discovery with your team. And so you talk about someone who now you can say is manipulative, charming, and has a certain way with people. How obvious was that? And how long did it take you to pick up cues and expressions? I mean, you're studying the person that you're about to try. I mean, what was that like?
Evaluating Lori Vallow Daybell was a long-term project for the entire team. Trying to figure out how to approach her, how to handle it, what if she was available for cross-examination. We spent a lot of time listening to her jail calls. The team, the investigators in particular, listened to scores and scores of calls. And so we walked out of that discovery process, that pretrial preparation process,
There again, I have not stopped this at a very pretty time, but I wanted to stop and give commentary because I don't want to get a copyright strike for not giving commentary. I mean, that's what we're here to do. But yes, she did a fabulous job, and I noted that I like that she was like, excuse Brutus, he's coughing. Sorry, Brutus. This is very telling, and it's a good thing for us to hear right now. I hope that these prosecutors here in Arizona put as much thought into it as clearly these Idaho prosecutors did. All right, let me back out and start this thing.
pretty informed as to what made Lori Vallow tick. So going into trial, we looked for those actions by Lori in the courtroom, and they were very consistent with the actions I think we've seen publicly, even most recently in her interview with Keith Morrison. That will be hard for Lori to turn off in the courtroom. It is very likely that she will behave in the same way.
And she gives it away, right, with body language and her expression whenever she reacts to something. What do you foresee as challenges for the court in finding a jury within this week? They seem to be confident, and I'm talking about the judge thinking that
I don't want to wear y'all out and just keep changing stuff on you, but I want to go back and I want to go back to E. I meant X. Look, Twitter. I'm calling Twitter E. Don't you love that? No, that's not what I need. Percent. Share screen. Justin. Okay. So Justin says now, what is it? I just saw it. After all that, now I got y'all over here. 3 minutes ago, Justin said Judge will table that discussion onto Vallow's Daybell motion to disclose the 404 evidence. Judge doesn't think he has to rule on that yet. Whoa. Let me back up, y'all. That sounds like something we need to hear about. And also, Justin says the defense is wanting to exclude 3 witnesses, including Kay Woodcock. That's the other thing. Let's see if Nate, maybe he'll report on the stuff that doesn't have to do with him. Nope. Now, I don't know about this Robert Patton fellow. Let's see if we can. I don't know. Why don't we have a link to him here? Maybe maybe Robert Patton don't have an X. Nope. That's very odd and unusual. Okay. Maybe Megan can help us. So let's look. Megan, let's see. I didn't mean to cut y'all off from that, but I didn't want us to miss anything going on over here. We'll have to go back and hear from Rachel later. I hope you're not upset about that. Okay. Okay, here Megan's got the scoop for us, y'all. Megan has got the scoop. Okay. 8 minutes ago, the judge asked for, okay. Come on, Megan. She's talking. I was in the wrong place to get it. Okay, 12 minutes ago, Lori is all smiles as she re-enters and carries her thick file folder. Her glasses are on her head, and she is typical smiling, flirting. Well, I hate that. Let's see. Megan said 11 minutes ago that 11 minutes ago, the judge reprimands that we are starting late. He came in asking where the defense was. Uh-oh. So 11 minutes later, the judge is discussing how his de facto overruled Lori's objection to electronic questionnaire. She wanted a statement bolded that she denied all the allegations. The questionnaire went out without change. 9 minutes ago, the defense objects to Detective Kuntz being called as an expert. Lori says she thinks he is just being given his opinion rather than the facts. She says it has nothing to do with this conspiracy. The state says he is trained in this area and is relevant due to the self-defense aspect. Okay. Then 8 minutes ago, judge asked for a CV as well as a statement of Kuntz's opinion. He also asked Lori to clarify what she was arguing. She said his opinion is not relevant and says he could have taken a weekend class and that doesn't make him an expert. So 7 minutes ago, the judge says the state did not comply with the rule as far as timing, but he would table it for now and look at it again. 5 minutes ago, Megan Connor says now the defense motion is to disclose the 404B evidence. Lori says she's asking what 404B will be disclosed, and their response with just another theory. Judge says evidentiary objections will be taken up in trial. Ooh. 3 minutes ago, now motion to exclude the state witnesses from Lori. She wants Kay Woodcock removed. Judge asked her objection. Lori is outer space. Okay, Megan, 3 minutes ago, sis. Now the motion to exclude the state witness from Lori. She wants Kay Woodcock removed. Judge asked her objection. Lori is in outer space. Mine. Lori alleges their information came from Dateline and they have no personal knowledge of the crime. Lord. Okay, 2 minutes ago, the judge asked the state to offer proof that they're relevant. Atwood, a person who was present when Lori was talking about Charles' possession months in advance. And 1 minute ago, the judge asked the state to offer proof that they're relevant. Nancy Jo Hancock, the last person who saw the victim alive, her statement to Charles of what he should do about Lori's behavior are relevant. 48 seconds ago, Megan Connor said the judge asked the state to offer proof that they're relevant. Kay Woodcock obtained the life insurance payout and could provide background on the victims regarding self-defense. He asked Lori if there's further argument. Oh, Megan also says 3 minutes ago that Lori alleges that the witnesses are getting together and comparing notes. Seems a little self-absorbed. The judge tells her she is welcome to cross-examine if she likes. The court denies her motion. 1 minute ago, the judge calls for Nate Eaton and his attorney address the court. The judge asked Lori why Nate is on a list as a witness. Lori says she hasn't read the motion and doesn't know what he's claiming. She says Nate and Trina have made themselves witnesses. Lord of mercy. 36 seconds ago, Megan Connor says, the judge asked Lori, making sure that I'm still, that y'all are still hearing me. Megan Connor says 36 seconds ago, the judge asked Lori how Nate was relevant information for what this case is about. Lori says she called him for impeachment and rebuttal because he interviewed everyone on the state's witness list. Oh, Lord. So 46 seconds ago, I don't understand how it goes back and forth, but okay. Lori claims she wasn't aware Nate could not be in the courtroom if he was on the witness list. Come on now. Good grief. Okay, let's see if what say Justin Lum. So Lori's on Nate. He had off-the-record conversations with the prosecutor. He's made himself a witness. Vallow Daybell says her intention was not, it was not her intention to keep Nate out of the courtroom. She says she had to laugh at that argument. She didn't know that a witness could be prevented from being in the courtroom. Oh, brother. And she is... The judge will table the discussion on Vallow Daybell's motion to disclose the 404B evidence. Judge doesn't think he has to rule on it yet. So what I think is going to happen with that other information, it's going to be what's on a need to know. So let's go back and see what Megan... Okay. Okay, 2 minutes ago, Mr. Kelly is representing Nate, and the judge asked Lori if she has transcripts to be used for impeachment. Lori says she has been watching the interviews and taken her own notes. Okay, so Megan Connor says 36 seconds ago, Mr. Kelly cites case law protecting journalists from having to testify. The judge says Lori doesn't need Nate to be impeached. She can just play the interviews in court. He's considering the problem, trying not to give Lori legal advice. So the judge there, he's giving her legal advice again because she's don't know what she's doing and she's manipulating everybody to help take care of the murdering hooker. We are not happy with Lori. Let's see how Justin is. Is Joe Smo got a beach bum trace? Let's see. I can't find my window. Does Joe Smo? I need to get myself organized because I sure am not. Today I lost my phone and lost my mind along with the dang phone. Justin says the judge strikes Nate as a witness as of now. So he's off the witness list. So we figured that. She don't think Nate's important enough to be keeping him out of it. She thinks that's funny that we would think that's a... She probably heard us all talk about that. So, Megan 1 minute ago said Nate will be allowed in the courtroom. Lori can call him from the audience if she sees the need to call him at some point. Megan said a minute ago, Lori was arguing that Nate has interviewed all of law enforcement. The judge sees only a narrow situation where Nate would need to be called. He's inclined to strike Nate as a witness. He does so. These people. Okay, let's see. I don't want to miss the... So what we're going to do now probably is we're going to switch over. Hang on, y'all.
Fox 10 investigator Justin Lum here, joined by our special projects executive producer George Obi. It is the day we have been waiting for, the Doomsday Murder Trial, Arizona versus Lori Vallow Daybell, accused of conspiring in the murder of her former husband, Charles Vallow. And we begin with jury selection. George, we have 52 people in the pool now, and right now there's an actual hearing going on regarding a multitude of motions. Very interesting. We're going to take you there in a little bit, but just your takeaways from the 200 questionnaires. We were sitting in the courtroom and now we're back here, but Lori Vallow Daybell in civilian clothes, new glasses, she's playing lawyer. It's quite a sight.
It is. These are always interesting because jurors in any case are always difficult to find in a case such like as high profile as this is and a high profile defendant. It was interesting to listen to the judge and Lori's defense and the state kind of grow through what they liked and didn't like about jurors. We'll talk a lot about that this afternoon of why a lot of these jurors were taken out of the pool. But again, very interesting because
very important. I mean,
Yeah.
this will be the final 16 at some point.
Yes, and I think they felt, at least that I think that you'll agree, the tone that we got from this morning was that they're confident that they can get the 12 and 6 that they need to start opening statements on Monday.
Even Judge Boreski said we're moving at a good pace. At one point, they had 5 people in a row that stayed in the pool and they got through the questionnaires, and we have about 50, like I said. But right now, and this is what everybody's here for, we're going to take you that in just a few minutes, a motion hearing, motions from Lori Vallow Daybell, motions by the state. We're talking about witnesses. We're talking about our friend Nate Eaton of East Idaho News that is trying not to be a witness so he can report on this case, and you guys are going to see that unfold. And spoiler alert, some of you guys have maybe watching us on X and seeing some of our posts of what's going on, but we're going to take you there in just a little bit. It is just so interesting to see that Lori Vallow Daybell is not a lawyer. She has this advisory council, and you can see the moments where she's unsure of how she's going to respond. And then you have a prosecution that has years and years of experience. We were literally in the elevator with them, and this is just another day of business, but it's almost like it's harder for them now.
I think there is, there are a lot of landmines that they have to kind of navigate through. Even Judge Bresky, the same thing. I think there are things that he is probably going to come across in this trial that he hasn't experienced yet. But by and large, they are trying to go through this to a T. They're trying to make sure everything is done properly, so there is no issue. And again, this morning, great litmus test, I think, for at least for Lori and her defense team, because as we know, the jury is going to be very important. So they want to make sure that they do everything correctly and that they bring in the people they want to bring in starting tomorrow for in person.
And one of the big motions is trying to get 3 witnesses excluded. We just heard some of that. Lori Vallow Daybell calling a lot of the information from these witnesses hearsay, and that they talk amongst each other and show each other their notes in a sense. I mean, this has been going on for 5 years, but one of those witnesses is Kay Woodcock, Charles Vallow's sister, and also the biological grandmother of J.J. Vallow, a victim of Lori Vallow in Idaho. So there's a lot there that's connected. There's a lot of, you can call it bad blood. I think Kay will tell you that. She's been a witness, and this will be her 3rd trial. And she just wants justice for her brother, Charles Vallow. We're going to learn a lot from Charles through the grave, in a sense. I spoke to a former prosecutor on the case, Rachel Smith, the special prosecutor assigned to the first Idaho case, and she said that is the perspective we are going to get. Charles's point of view, what he was going through, trying to get Lori Vallow Daybell help, what she was allegedly saying to him about him being possessed by a dark spirit and a zombie, calling him outside of his name, not her husband. And then this whole life insurance motivation that we're going to learn about. And we know we have 10 witnesses from Chandler Police that are going to be called. I think that we got a good roadmap. I've said it from the Idaho case of what we expect to see from that trial compared to now.
Fascinating when you have this many key players in a case like this who are no longer with us, sadly. And I think that is going to be a challenge. And the judge will have to, make some really hard decisions about what he allows and what he doesn't allow through this trial, what's hearsay and what isn't.
Yeah, and I think it was just so interesting to see, I've watched Lori Vallow Daybell and her expressions and how she engages. She was it seemed like she was excited to see her defense team, and that this, was like game day for her. She was dressed in her civilian clothes. We've talked a little bit about the security measures, being that she won't be restrained. She'll have this shock vest or belt that's under her civilian clothes,
which we didn't see today. We did not see that. She may have had it on, but
it was hard to tell. Maybe it's a belt. I don't know exactly what it looks like. But she seemed like she was ready to go. But then you also see some moments where she's humbled, because the judge is even saying, I can't give you legal advice on this, but you do what you got to do as your own defense. We are going to take you to the beginning of this hearing right now. Everyone who's been watching with us, thank you very much. Let's see what this hearing and how this unfolds.
When I say we want to start at 1:30, I want to start at 1:30, especially when we start having jury here waiting for us. I have a number of things we need to go through. Tomorrow morning, we'll continue with the jury selection process. There'll be a number of jurors that report in person to the jury assembly room that will fill out the same questionnaire that we went through this morning. I estimate somewhere between 40 and 60 people doing that. We'll go over those answers beginning at about 10:30 a.m. We'll plan on starting at 10:30 a.m. Whoever's left, as well as the people that we approved to come back from this morning's group, will come here at 1:30 p.m. We'll begin in-person questioning. During the in-person questioning, I'm going to need the full use of the courtroom, including the seats in the back. So those of you that are in the back as spectators might not be able to be in the courtroom tomorrow during the jury selection process. I'm just letting you know. Let's talk about some of these. First of all, for the record, I did get the defendant's notice of objection to the jury questionnaire that was filed on March 20th. The defendant was objecting to, I guess, the phrasing of the allegations that the state has made, and then requested that the fact that she denies the allegation be bolded and underlined it in the questionnaire. I did get your objection. I guess de facto, I overruled the objection and the questionnaire went out as proposed. Next, I have defendant's motion in limine to preclude expert testimony of Daniel Coons dated March 10th. Let me ask the state. That's Detective Daniel Coons of the Chandler Police Department. Is he going to be testifying as an expert?
Your Honor, we did notice him as an expert in terms of his background and training and testifying as to trajectory. So we did that in abundance of caution, but we did supplement and provide the defense with the background of that. It was provided to the defense more than 30 days before trial. And defense has interviewed him since then.
What was the last part?
The defense has interviewed him since then.
Okay. So, Ms. Daybell, what's the objection?
So for 5 years, of course, he's been on the witness list to be a regular detective, and now he's being put on as an expert. I feel like to give his opinion instead of just stating the facts. So that was my main concern. I don't understand how the trajectory has anything to do with conspiracy. So I object in that way as well.
All right. Has he testified in that regard in the past?
Yes, I believe so, Your Honor. He has been trained in that area and taught in that area. And his relevance, Your Honor, would be because the defense has claimed a self-defense claim as well. It's relevant for that.
Can the state provide me what his opinion is, and does he have a CV?
He does not have a CV. We did actually put the opinion in the supplemental 15.1 that I filed, along with his,
Okay.
I believe, background and training in that as well. So.
I guess let me flesh this out a little bit more. Let me ask the defendant, you've said a couple different things. Are you saying he's not qualified as an expert, or just that the disclosure came in late and you don't think his opinion is relevant?
Well, one, I don't think his opinion is relevant, but also the fact that he's named as a firearms expert. So I don't know if he took a weekend class and that made him a firearms expert. I don't know what his experience was with that. And in his CV, it just says firearms expert. So.
Did you ask him those questions? Was it you that interviewed him or your investigator?
My investigator interviewed him.
Do you know if he asked questions regarding his
I'm not
background,
sure.
training, or expertise?
Okay, so I haven't listened to that yet, so I'm not quite sure. My concern was that he was a regular detective on the witness list for 5 years, and then 30 days before trial, he's now an expert so that he can give his opinion. And I just thought that was my objection.
Well, if that was your basis of the objection on the timeliness of it, the state did comply with the rules as far as notice prior to trial and giving some sort of summary of what his opinion testimony would be. I'll take a look at it. It doesn't sound like we need any sort of Daubert hearing, but I'll take a look at it. So let's table that for now. Next I have defendant's motion to disclose 404B evidence dated March 14 and the state's response dated March 23. I don't know that the evidence that the state is offering to introduce necessarily 404B bad act per se, but let me hear from the defendant. You got her response?
I did.
All right. So what specific bad acts do you think should be precluded? Or were you just asking for disclosure of what they were actually intending on introducing?
I was asking for a disclosure of 404B that they planned on introducing at trial, and what I got was another theory of the case. So I didn't think that any of it was 404B relevant.
Well, I think I agree with you in so much as what was listed in their response, I wouldn't necessarily characterize as 404B evidence. But you have received that, and now you're aware of what they plan on introducing.
Somewhat.
Okay.
Correct.
I don't think I need to make a ruling on that. If there's evidentiary objections, hearsay, foundation, those types of things will be taken up when the state elicits or attempts to elicit that information. I have next defendant's motion to exclude state witnesses dated March 14 of 2025 and the state's response, specifically defendants requesting to exclude Nancy Jo Hancock, Christina Atwood, and Kay Woodcock. The state filed a response on why let me just make sure I'm looking at the right one. The state's going to offer some sort of testimony from these three witnesses that are going to talk about, it'd go toward the element of premeditation and or motive. So what is your objection specifically?
Mine, Your Honor?
Yes.
Oh, my objection was that after their interviews, after their defense interviews, that it came to light that their information came, well, one specifically came from Dateline, and then they called each other and their information came from each other. So
I guess I'm working a little bit in the dark. What information is that?
whatever they're, I don't know, planning on testifying about, none of them have personal knowledge of any kind of crime. So
The state's not saying they have personal knowledge of a crime. They have personal knowledge of things that may lead a jury to infer some sort of premeditation or motive. So what information is that? Let me ask the state. Or what's your offer of proof on why they're relevant?
With regards to Christina Atwood, she is a person who was present when the defendant was speaking about the victim being possessed, which goes to, again, the motive of this as well as the premeditation, and those statements were made months in advance of the actual murder. With regards to Nancy,
So that's going to be offered as some form of admission from the defendant.
so that would be admission by party opponent, and that's personal knowledge.
Did you say that was Nancy Jo Hancock?
Oh, that was Christina Atwood.
Christina Atwood.
Nancy Jo Hancock is the last person that saw the victim alive prior to that. What she knew about this was hearsay, but her statements to the victim of what he should do were expression to the victim that he should tell the defendant that he had changed the life insurance policy to stop all of this from going on. So she both sees him the night before, is aware that he's there, and then she makes statements to him regarding what he should do.
Okay. And then,
Kay Woodcock is the person who actually obtained the life insurance policy, which the state is alleging is part of the motive. And she also has information relating to the victim himself. There are allegations again of the self-defense, the use of a baseball bat, so she can provide background on the victim in that area as well.
all right. Do you want to have further argument?
Just the fact that this information that is supposed to be coming forward is not. All these witnesses are getting together and talking about all this and comparing all their notes and all these things beforehand. And then they're telling us that in these interviews. Well, I talked to her 100 times. Well, I talked to her every day. Well, she told me this. Well, she told me that. So their information is not firsthand. These witnesses are all coming together. They're all watching everything that goes on TV regarding this. And I would like them all precluded.
Okay, well, you're always allowed to cross-examine a witness about any biases they may have about those things that you've just talked about, colluding with other witnesses. Those are all areas of ripe for cross-examination, but they're not bases to preclude a witness. The court finds that based on the state's avowal that those three specific witnesses do have some minimal, although very limited, relevant information to provide and could be helpful to the jury in understanding the case. So the court will deny the motion to exclude the state's witnesses. Again, this ruling doesn't preclude you from any objections you may have to if they're testifying to hearsay or something like that. Next I have, is there a Mr. Eaton here appearing?
Your Honor, Matthew Kelly, I represent Mr. Eaton.
Okay, you filed a motion over the weekend. Mr. Eaton or someone that he works with filed a motion. Mr. Eaton was, let's address that now while we have people here. Mr. Eaton was listed as a witness by the defendant. Mr. Eaton apparently is a reporter in Idaho and based on the filings believes he doesn't have any relevant information and shouldn't be listed as a witness. So let me ask the defendant, what relevant information would Mr. Eaton have? Why is he listed as a witness?
Well, I just got this last night, so I haven't had time to read all the things that he's claiming he doesn't. But there's several things off the top of my head that is relevant. Right now, one of the things is it's different now, right? Because he's had this off the record conversation with the prosecutor, and he's kind of made himself a witness. He's kind of made her a witness.
How so?
In the sense that if this is not prosecutorial misconduct, then one of them is going to have to testify and talk about how it's not.
Let's back up. How is he a witness to this trial? How does he have relevant information? Relevant information means a witness has testimony that makes some fact in the case more or less likely. So how does he have relevant information for what this case is about?
Okay, so initially when I put him on my witness list, my intent is because I do not know what the state is going to put on in their case in chief. And so I was calling him as a witness for the purpose of impeachment, laying foundation for interviews, rebuttal to whatever that the state might put forth because he has interviewed almost every single witness on their witness list. And if they were to say something contrary to what they said to him on a public thing, then I would use him to lay a foundation for interviews and for impeachment. So that was my initial, in calling him. I found it funny when I read the beginning of this. He says that it seems to be clear attempt by Mrs. Daybell to use the rules of criminal procedure as a pretext simply to keep me out of the courtroom and interfere with my ability to report. So I had to laugh at that because it hadn't even occurred to me that he wouldn't be able to be in the courtroom if he was a witness according to 615. So that wasn't my intention. It was never my intention to do that. It was just to have him on hand if we needed to do that.
All right. Mr. Kelly, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Kelly, in theory, it sounds like if a witness said something different than they reported to Mr. Eaton at some point, I guess in theory, she's right that Mr. Kelly could be called as a witness to impeach someone, but that's only allowed after the person's confronted with the actual statement that was made, and if they then deny that statement that was made. Do you have copies of his interviews and transcripts of interviews that you might want to impeach someone with?
I've been watching most of the interviews and I take my own notes, so yes.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, two things. One, excluding Mr. Eaton under Rule 615 would be a violation of his rights under the First Amendment to attend and report on this very public trial. But more importantly, Your Honor, if Mr. Eaton were to be called as a witness, the party calling him would have to comply with ARS 12-2214, which has very stringent requirements for subpoenaing and compelling the testimony of a journalist about information that journalist has obtained in the course of news gathering. As we state in our motion, we don't believe that there is any way that Ms. Daybell can meet those requirements, but I would suggest that if she wants to call him as a witness, she would absolutely have to follow the requirements of the subpoena law, and we would then have an opportunity to challenge that. But we don't believe that there should be any reason for Mr. Eaton to be excluded from the courtroom.
All right. I'm just thinking through this problem. If a witness got on the witness stand and said something different in testimony than you saw on an interview with Mr. Eaton, you would then play that interview. You wouldn't even need Mr. Eaton to do the impeachment because you could impeach them with the interview by playing it for them in court or something like that. So now that I'm kind of thinking it through a little more, I'm not sure.
And I wouldn't need him to lay that foundation for the interview?
I'm really trying not to give you any legal advice because you are acting as your own attorney, but if the witness admits that's them on the interview and that's their statement, that is foundation. So
he's interviewed law enforcement, almost all the law enforcement that's going to be, up here on the stand. So it's not just witnesses, it's law enforcement.
Well, when I say witness, I mean generally any witness, regardless of their occupation. So I don't foresee, I see it in only the narrowest of situations where he could even be called to as an extrinsic person to testify about the impeachment. You'd have to jump through a number of hoops before that as far as presenting the witness what the statement is, and depending on whether they admit or deny that it's them on that video or interview or whatever the case may be that you're referring to. But I'm inclined to strike him as a witness at this time, allow him to be present if he so chooses in the trial. But then again, if you wanted him as a witness, you would need to subpoena him. But at this point, I'm going to strike him from the witness list and permit him to be in the courtroom. If there's a situation where you think something has happened during the trial where you think he should be called as a witness, I guess we'll cross that bridge when and if it comes. Okay.
We could just call him up from the back.
Well, we'll address it when and if it comes. Yeah.
And Your Honor, I would ask that if that were to occur, that I would be notified and given a chance to appear and be heard.
Well, everyone will get a chance to be heard if we cross that bridge. I just don't see us crossing that bridge, but I could be wrong. So at this time, it's sort of striking Nate Eaton from the witness list. He can be present if he so chooses in the courtroom.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Let's go next to the state's motion to preclude media from displaying or disclosing phone numbers and email for witnesses and victims. I guess I have no problem granting this in concept, but let me ask the state: are these people going to testify? This is my phone number, or this is my email, or it's going to be displayed up on as part of the evidence on the screen, or both?
Your Honor, it would be both. Some people would have to testify as to their phone numbers or emails that would also then to establish the foundation of then conversations that are on text messages, emails, iCloud accounts. So my concern obviously is there are both victims whose information could be displayed up there, and I think the Constitution allows them to request that that not be displayed. But additionally, just for safety concerns, given the high profile nature of this, for witnesses who have, several of them have attempted to not be part of the media and have not given interviews and would not want their information to be out there, given that this is being live streamed, having their phone numbers or email addresses live streamed out there to the world, I would ask that that not be done.
All right. Does the defense want to be heard on any of that?
No, we agree.
So we're not actually being live streamed, but there's a 30-minute delay order on broadcasting what's in the courtroom. I already have a protective order that jurors can't be broadcast in any way. And I have an order that the feed can't broadcast sidebars that we might have. So I'm going to order that the feed also, to the extent you can see it visually on an exhibit or something, they shouldn't film someone's phone number or email. And then I don't know if the right person's here. Do we have the ability to, does the media have the ability to bleep out or silence if someone says my phone number is 480 blah blah blah? We'll find that out before we start the trial, but that'll be the order. As for anyone that's doing print or podcasts or anything like that, you're prohibited from reciting an entire phone number or an entire email. You can use the area code, or you can use a couple digits at whatever, at live.com, at outlook.com, but I don't want their emails broadcast or reprinted. Let's go to state's motion to preclude Lonnie Dorkin and preclude noticed witnesses. Did Mr. Dorkin ever get a report prepared?
Not that the state has received.
Do you know?
So, okay. Your Honor, most likely, we're having an affidavit sent over from Mr. Dworkin tonight. He has found a discrepancy in the information that he downloaded and the information that was turned over initially by the state, and he wants to explain what that is and how that will be relevant. So if we get it tonight, we'll forward it immediately to the state, of course, tonight. He was working on a bunch of cases and he's doing the best he could to include our case and get it done as quickly as possible as when he was assigned from OPDS.
Well, at this time, I'm inclined to preclude Mr. Dworkin, granted something pretty extraordinary happening. I offered you a continuance last time we were in court in order for you to explore that possibility. You declined the continuance. So it's any disclosures late at this point. I'm not going to slam the door on it completely because he may or may not have anything that actually ends up being useful. But at this, if depending on what he actually has, we can talk about it. But at this time, he's likely to be precluded as a witness because the state wouldn't even have an opportunity to have their own witness or rebuttal witness look at something prior to trial. But again, depending on what you have, we can talk about it again.
Okay.
The rest of your witnesses, we've already talked about Nate Eaton. I don't know if we need to go through each and every witness, but I think where I need to start is if a witness hasn't been served with a subpoena to appear in court, there's no requirement for them to show up for your trial. If they have been served, they would need to submit to an interview with the state in advance of their testimony. And then the third aspect is they need to have something relevant to testify about, which relevant, I told you a little bit ago, means they have a testimony that's not based on hearsay, that tends to make either a fact more likely or not. So why don't we go through, I'm trying to compare your witness list to the state's motion. Let me see here. So Nate Eaton, as of now, is not a witness. Next, we have, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Is it Viasia?
Vicia.
Vicia.
Ita Iha.
Is this one of the ones the state was able to get a hold of?
No, Your Honor, we did call the numbers and left voicemail. I've not had any response, and it's my understanding that when I interviewed the defendant's investigator, Jeff White, he also was unable to speak with her.
All right. What about Gabriel Bonilla?
Your Honor, I had an update on that one in the sense that on Saturday, so when the state interviewed, again, Jeff White, the defendant's investigator, he had not been able to speak with Mr. Bonilla. I also called and left a message on the phone number that I received from the investigator. On Saturday, the attorney for Mr. Bonilla called me, and Matthew Ballard, who represents the Church of Latter-day Saints, he advised me that Mr. Bonilla has not been served with a subpoena, but I did not speak with Mr. Bonilla or was not given an option to speak with him.
So we don't know if that person's been served or if they have relevant information.
According to the attorney, Matthew Ballard, he has not been served.
All right. What about Well, why don't I just ask the state? I've got your supplemental and your other one. I know you've actually talked to a few of these people on the phone.
Correct.
Is there anyone on this list, and I'm looking at the defendant's supplemental 15.2 filed March 12 on page 2, there's a number of witnesses listed out. Is there any on this list that you have talked to that you don't object to being called?
Your Honor, I think that there is potentially minimal relevance from Summer Shiflett.
Chislett?
I think that's a misspelling
Oh.
of her sister's name.
Okay.
I think there's potentially minimal relevance for Janice Cox, her
Sure.
mother.
Okay.
Adam Cox is actually on the state's witness list, so we don't object to him. I did speak with Zachary Cox. I'm not aware of any relevance as to this case from him, but I did speak with him.
I see in your pleading that he advised you he's not been subpoenaed.
Correct. Everyone I've spoken with has not been subpoenaed.
All right.
Your Honor, our subpoenas are with OPDS right now, and they should be being issued currently. The state talks about in their response, like the state is claiming trial by ambush from the defense. Trial by ambush. How is the defense trial by ambush when they have interviewed every single one of these witnesses before in the last 5 years since this case started? They've interviewed every single person that has been on there. They have written, transcripted interviews and video interviews of all of these people. And so how they are relevant, these witnesses will testify if and when they are needed to add additional facts or fill in the blanks that the state will no doubt leave out in their case in chief, and they'll be called accordingly. I need them to lay perhaps foundations for evidence presented by the state. The same with Lonnie Dorkin. I need his testimony will be required if and when it's necessary to rebut digital information that the state will bring forward during trial. I feel like the state is trying to say, okay, if you want your speedy trial, guess what? We're not going to let you defend yourself. Guess what? You can't have any experts. And guess what else? You can't have any witnesses. You can't have anybody speak in your behalf. So good luck. Have a nice day.
All right. Well, that's why attorneys sometimes take a long time to prepare for a trial, because they need to give notice of what all the testimony their witnesses are going to give. They need their experts to prepare reports. That's why your prior attorneys and your current attorneys were asking for more time to prepare the case. So you can't really have it both ways, that you want your speedy trial rights, but you don't want to give notice to the other side of what your evidence is.
I don't not want to give notice to the other side, with the limitations at the incarcerated state where I am, and the limitations with OPDS of getting Lonnie Dorkin late in the game that they did. I've done everything in my power as a defendant to prepare the state and to give over everything that I could do within my power, with the limitations that I am an incarcerated person at this maximum security prison jail.
So when you say,
and I shouldn't be able to represent myself because of that fact, that negates my constitutional right.
I didn't say that. All right. I said that sometimes there are reasons to not go forward to trial as fast as you want. All right. So when you say things like they're going to fill in the blanks, that makes it really hard to assess what their relevant information is.
They have relevant information to a lot of factors that I got in the 404B information. For example, the life insurance. My father is a life insurance salesman. He worked with Charles on getting both life insurance policies, my $2 million policy and Charles' $1 million policy. He also tried to sell my insurance policy after Charles passed away. He also told me to go to call the insurance policy and said, how to do that, how to call them when you're the beneficiary. I didn't know how to do any of those things. He has relevant information to that. My sister has relevant information to my brother, Alex Cox, and the whole situation of what happened on July 11th. These people have relevant information to the state's case, what they're accusing me of. There's very relevant information from a lot of these witnesses.
So what I'm struggling with is you just saying that it's relevant doesn't actually make it relevant. It may be relevant. I'm trying to find out the relevancy. What you said about your father being an insurance salesman and selling policies, that sounds relevant. It could be relevant to me. Who's your father? I don't know who your father is.
Barry Cox.
All right, Barry Cox. It sounds like even from what you're saying, though, you're not, depending on what the state produces at trial, you're not sure that these witnesses would have relevant information. It just depends, is what it sounds like.
Whatever they put up in their case in chief, am I not allowed to try to defend myself against that?
You're absolutely allowed. I'm just trying to figure out, I'm sort of a gatekeeper and I need to make sure witnesses have relevant information. And just like you have the right to interview all of the state's witnesses, excluding victims' rights, people that can deny having an interview, they have the right to interview all your witnesses prior to trial so they can have an idea of what those witnesses might say on the witness stand.
I understand that, Your Honor.
So
They also have already interviewed all of them.
I'm not talking about police interviews or interviews that may have been done years ago. The prosecutor has the right to interview any witness prior to them taking the stand, just as you do. So I'm not sure the best way to handle this other than maybe we should take it up as we progress through the case, but
Your Honor,
some of these people may or may not be even served.
Yeah, my concern is obviously I have attempted to reach these people. I've made my good faith effort. I've been told both by myself in attempting to contact them, as well as the defense investigator, that they've been unable to reach them. So it seems to not be following the rules of procedure or evidence to then bring up later on if they perhaps find these people at some point, then the state can try to at that point preclude them. When the state talks about a trial by ambush, it is in fact that. When the defense investigator themselves cannot find these people and are still looking for them in trial when they've had at least, we'll say, 4 months to try to find them, I think that at this point, precluding them is proper.
Well, I would preclude anyone that doesn't submit to an interview with the state. I kind of want to punt this a little bit just because if there's people that don't end up getting served, don't end up showing up at court, they can't find, then we don't need to waste our time talking about whether or not those people have relevant information because they're not going to be here and they're not going to testify. So I'm putting the defendant on notice that if these witnesses aren't served, if they don't submit to interviews, they're going to be precluded. Even if they submit to interviews, I may have to make a determination whether their testimony is relevant or not. So again, we're going to, I think, have to cross that bridge when it comes. The state did say that they concede that some of the witnesses, Adam Cox, Janice Cox, Summer Shiflett, may have some minimally relevant information. The rest of these, I think we're gonna have to take up maybe on a piecemeal basis, but I don't want it, it's not gonna be a situation where you're ready to call them in as a witness the morning of, and then the state they haven't been presented to the state for an interview prior to that. So keep that in mind when coordinating with your investigator. If he gets them served and they're actually going to be called at trial, they need to submit to an interview in advance of their testimony.
Your Honor, I understand that, and I am limited in what I can do. If I could call these people myself, they would answer my call probably, and I could have this discussion with them, but I'm going through the limitations that I have at the jail through my paralegal who's working overtime and my investigator who's working overtime to try to do everything to help me prepare for trial, as they have other clients as well that they have to do things in a timely manner for. So we
Well,
are doing the best that we can.
Okay. All right. We next have defendant's motion to dismiss for violation of confidential communication and the Sixth Amendment dated March 18 of 2025 and the state's response. Let me ask the defendant first if you've received the state's response.
I did.
Did you say you did or didn't?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
If you have an attorney in Idaho that is working on an appeal, it appears that the information that was turned over by the jail was some pretty innocuous messages about trying to set up the legal line to talk to you on a confidential line. And really that's about it. So how does this arise to some sort of nefarious interception of things? Because it was put on a public chat system that the jail uses. You know it's not confidential. And you're told it's not confidential. And then even if I look at the substance of the messages, there's really nothing in the messages that would arise to some sort of confidential communication, just trying to set up a meeting and get the unrecorded legal line set up.
Who's saying that they're not confidential?
Well, the
Who's
jail,
telling me that they're not confidential?
your own attorney, it looks like. Here's a message. I see that they came and got you. I'm working on getting a confidential attorney line set up. The implication being that this message is not confidential. The next one, again, just checking in. Hope things are getting a little better for you. I'm still working on getting a legal line set up. The implication is that these are not confidential.
Okay, so then he received a letter from MCSO that said, your phone number is now confidential and arranged for privileged, confidential, client privilege communications. So
Phone
from
calls.
my no, it says this phone number is connected to that. So from my perspective, when I call someone on the tablet or when I text someone on the tablet, it goes to their phone number. So all the communications after the date of the exhibit that we put in our motion, when he got that letter from MCSO that now all of your things will be confidential.
Okay.
Now they will be confidential. So my understanding, and I'm the only one that can waive that privilege, right?
And I think after that, when his line was approved, there were no other disclosures of messages between you and him, correct?
No, there are.
You received other disclosures of intercepting messages between you and him?
So those go up to the 24th of January?
No, the only thing I saw was up to, I think, late December of 23.
Okay, so there are confidential things that are in our communications because I was not aware that after he received that there were not. So the prosecutor who obtained these, her protocol would not be to stop and ask the court for some guidance on this, maybe do an in-camera review if she's subjecting herself to client privileged communications, instead of reading them and finding out and assessing for herself if there are anything in there that's confidential information between me and my appeals attorney. I have no other way to communicate with him when I'm in this incarcerated situation because I was brought here to Arizona to deal with these charges. So it is a problem. It's a problem that she took them. It's a problem that she got them from MCSO. It's a problem that she read through them. It's a huge problem that she put some of them into her motion, and now his IP address is exposed to the public, which is a federal offense. There's a lot of things wrong with what has happened here.
Well, you reminded me that when his number was approved, he then sent messages from different IP addresses instead of that phone number that was privileged. So he disclosed, he's the one that disclosed or violated the confidential nature. I don't see that any of these, I'm going to call them inadvertently intercepted messages between you and your appeal attorney. I don't see that they're being used in any way by the state.
Just the state reading them as a violation of the client-attorney
Well,
privilege.
not if they're not done through a privileged setup the way that they were supposed to, which he even acknowledged.
My understanding from my perspective was that that phone number was now privileged. The way it comes to me on the tablet is I text that phone number, or I call that phone number.
Correct.
So,
if you're communicating through the phone number, but if he has it set up where the messages aren't being sent and received actually through the phone number, but through different IP addresses, they wouldn't, the system doesn't know that they're privileged because they're not being sent and received through that privileged number.
but I didn't know that. There's no way for me to know that from where I am in my cell. There's no understanding for that. I assumed he was just getting them on his same phone that we were having client attorney privileged communications. And is the state giving these to Idaho? Do these get dispersed out? I would like to know that. Where are these going? They're getting them from MCSO. Is there a subpoena to get these from MCSO? Is there a warrant to get these from MCSO? I didn't see anything that warrants them getting them from MCSO in the first place.
All right, let me hear from the state.
Your Honor, I think that the state's motion really covers the law under this. The defendant and her attorney were provided with information, whether or not she understood it or not. Her attorney understood that it was phone calls that were covered. So it's not just the defendant who is not complying with following the correct procedure to utilize the set up attorney-client privilege means to communicate. In this case, the state, obviously, I disclose those before I even look at them. I understand that they are statements by a defendant, and I believe that they are to be disclosed under Rule 15. And so before I even look at them, I send them to the defendant because I don't have the option of not providing them to her since they have been obtained. I think if you apply the case law in this, the defendant cannot meet her burden to show that there's any legal advice in these messages. There's no privilege in them. The messages are asking to set up times to call and to speak.
Are the three, I think it's 3 messages that you included in your response, are those all the messages?
No, Your Honor, there are other messages, and we do say that tablet messages between Ms. Daybell and Mr. Jerem do not end on December 28th. They continue.
And there is privilege information on them going forward. And the state is basically testifying for my attorney now. She just testified for my attorney that he understood that they were that these were not privileged communications. Where does she understand that where is she testifying for my attorney?
Well, I think because the context of the messages say, I'm trying to schedule a time and I'm trying to set up a confidential line, meaning
That was
this is
before.
not confidential.
That's right. He said it wasn't confidential before MCSO gave him a letter saying your phone number is now confidential. Your phone number now has.
Okay, I'm not going to keep rehashing this with you. The fact that he's using different IP addresses and not messaging through the actual phone number that's protected, I think is part of the problem. So if he's not using the program correctly, that's an issue you need to take up with your attorney.
How is
This
he
would be-
using it incorrectly?
I just told you. He's not messaging through the phone number. He's using different IP
How
addresses.
can you message other than the phone number? I don't understand that.
I don't understand that either, but if it was from the phone number and it's for his cell phone, for example, it would be the same IP address for each communication. There's like 4 or 5 IP addresses.
Where are the IP addresses coming from? They're given to you by the state?
They're right there listed on the messages.
I'm just saying, where are they obtaining those from?
From your attorney's messages to you?
From MCSO?
Yeah.
Did they get IP addresses for every single person of every single message communication on the text from MCSO?
Well, it's listed on the messages, so I assume so. It says Craig Durham, and then under it is the IP address from the device that's being used.
Okay, and then Ms. K is reading all of these messages and they're not privileged. Is that what you're coming to?
They're not privileged if you're not using the program or your attorney's not using the program correctly. Okay, they're still not going to be allowed to use any of these messages. What I'm saying is they're inadvertent disclosure by MCSO because someone's not using the program correctly doesn't mean that they had bad faith in how they got them. They made
How is he using it incorrectly?
I don't know how else to explain it to you. I've told you 5 different times now. So he's not messaging with the phone number. He's messaging from different IP addresses.
Okay, can I ask if these messages are being disseminated anywhere to Idaho, to the prosecutors in Idaho? Because that's definitely affecting my appeal if that's the case.
I don't know.
Have not been sent to anyone other than the defendant, Your Honor.
All right. So there was some communications I find that were intercepted between Ms. Daybell and her attorney. The state's not to use those communications. They're not to disseminate those communications, but I do find that they weren't purposely sought out by the state. And that dismissal isn't the appropriate sanction if there is an appropriate sanction. It's order denying the motion to dismiss for violation of confidential communication. All right, then we have defendant's motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct dated March 21st. Let me get that. And the state's response. The motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct was filed on March 21. The response, I don't see a date on the response, but I do have the response. Did you get that response? Ms. Daybell, did you get that response?
I did, Your Honor.
All right. So your prior attorneys had, actually, let me back up. The state filed a motion back in, I think it was September of 2024, asking the court to preclude your defense team at the time from making public records requests through Gilbert and/or Chandler police departments. I denied the state's request, saying that the defense is free to do their investigation and make public records requests through appropriate means. So that's part of your complaint, that they didn't provide those public documents to the defense. That's sort of a civil issue, I guess, but let me hear your argument on that.
That isn't really the complaint itself.
That's your first paragraph.
I know, but the complaint is that,
I'd like to take each allegation and deal with them one at a time. That's your
I understand
that's
that.
your first
My
allegation.
complaint is the interference by the state, Ms. K in particular, in stopping that and interfering with us trying to investigate and do our own investigation. It is a violation of the constitutional right and due process. And she did do it, and she did do it purposefully. And then after she did it, and we weren't allowed to have anything from either of the police departments, then she filed her motion. And then later, the day that I was Rule 11, that is the day after when you said that you denied that motion. So I don't know what she did or what she said to Chandler and Gilbert to stop them from giving us any information. But as soon as we put in a request, we were cut off. No information. You can't have anything. That's when I was trying to, the big video that we're trying to get in Gilbert, that's what I was trying to request. I tried to request that myself because I would have my investigator go and explain what that was and why we didn't have it. And so we were precluded from doing all those things by the state. They should not be interfering with that. That's one of the reasons why everything has taken so long. We haven't been given things we've asked the state for. We haven't been given them. We tried to get them from Chandler and Gilbert. We can't get them from them. She's stopping us from getting from them. How are you supposed to put together a defense?
So when your prior defense counsel put in that request back in September, the state says that they obtained those information and gave it to your attorneys on October 1. So why are we waiting until March to address this if you had an issue with that?
I have had an issue with it the whole time. I've
So
been
why
talk-
didn't you file why didn't someone file a motion back in after, December, November, January, February, saying they had an issue with this?
I did. These are in my motions to you for specific discovery. I discussed this exact problem.
Okay. Well, now you're saying it arises to prosecutorial misconduct.
It is.
This is the first I've been made aware of that, as far as I know, that the police department never honored the public records request. If they don't honor a public records request, there's a process to go through regarding that.
Which is what?
I'm not going to give you legal advice. All right. Your second allegation, the prosecutorial misconduct, we've already kind of dealt with, that she distributed the state distributed attorney-client privileged communication. We've discussed that. The next one is legal advice to the defense witness, Nate Eaton. We've somewhat discussed that, but I think their motion, the state says that they simply notified him that he would need to be served with a subpoena to have to appear in court. So how is that improper?
It's taking her word for that that's what happened. She's not under oath saying that that's what happened. Nate Eaton's not here to testify that that's what happened. They're the only two parties that are there to say that that is what happened. So that is my problem with it. I would like for one of them to get on the stand and say exactly what happened in that conversation and that she wasn't giving him legal advice. How do we know that she wasn't? It's a very curious situation that he called her and then he writes in his motion this statement that obviously comes from Ms. K. She seems to be a clear attempt by Ms. Daybell to use the rules of criminal procedure as a pretext simply to keep me out of the courtroom and interfere with my ability to report. We also don't know if he told her, don't come to the March 18th hearing because that's when they're going to serve you with your subpoena. So all these things come from there and we don't know who's saying it. And you're just taking her word for it like you took her word for, oh, there's only 6 emails and there's no other emails. You're just taking her word for it as an officer of the court. And I think that she should have to be sworn in.
Well, you want me to just take your word for he must have gotten these things from Miss K, okay? Just because his motion says he thinks that you're noticing him as a witness to keep him out of the courtroom. I don't know why you take the jump to that is coming from Ms. K as opposed to his own volition. He also hired an attorney that said the same thing. Even if she had said you need to be served with a subpoena to have to show up in court, that is not an ethical violation.
Well, giving legal advice is an ethical violation. Is that correct?
Stating what the law is not an ethical violation. If she said, I don't think you should show up at court, even if you're subpoenaed or something like that, that could be an ethical violation, but we don't have that.
How do
All
we
right.
know we don't have that? That's my question. How do we know what went on in that conversation if it wasn't recorded? Aren't witness
You can
interviews
interview him.
recorded?
You can interview Mr. Eaton. Your investigator can interview Mr. Eaton. So when and if you get that information from Mr. Eaton that something nefarious happened in that conversation, bring it up then. But you're jumping to conclusions. You have the right to interview any witness, okay?
Not a witness anymore because you just precluded him.
All right. You can interview him. You can have your investigator interview him.
So even though he's not a noticed witness now, we can still interview him and try to find this information because we can't get it now? Is that what you're saying?
Sure. Have your investigator call him. Ask him about the conversation. At this time, I'm going to, based on just the pleadings, I'm denying the motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct.
Of course.
All right, 609 motion. The state's alleged a total of 7 felony convictions in the state of Idaho. Under Rule 609, the court finds that limiting the number of convictions and the nature of the convictions to be appropriate as to not be overly prejudicial. There is an interest in allowing a jury to know that the defendant's been convicted of at least one felony. But let me hear, I'm inclined to probably limit it to 2 felonies in order that they be sanitized. Does the state want to be heard on that?
Your Honor, I do believe that the court should allow for at least 3. There are multiple dates and multiple victims in those and multiple different distinct incidents. And I believe that it would be appropriate to, when we're talking about the credibility of the defendant, to allowing in 3 of those.
I looked at the date ranges and I looked at the actual counts, and some of the counts, obviously the laws are titled differently in Idaho, but there's a couple of counts that specifically have what I would call dishonesty built into the name of the conviction, the first-degree murder and grand theft by deception. Those are counts 1 and 3 specifically. And again, these only become relevant if the defendant chooses to testify. I did read the defendant's response asking that all of them be precluded. Let me hear from the defendant.
One second, Your Honor. Your Honor, I haven't had a time to I wasn't planning on talking about the 609 today, so I'll just refer to my reply.
Well, we can table it till later in the trial because again, it doesn't become relevant unless you choose to testify, but you know my inclination and what the state's argument is.
Okay.
This morning I handed each side proposed preliminary instructions. We don't need to discuss those now, but depending on tomorrow how far we get in the jury selection process, maybe you can be prepared to tell me if you object to any or if there are additions or corrections that need to be made. All right, I think that's going to be it for today, but let me check with the state. Is there anything else we need to address today?
I think just for the record, Your Honor, in terms of allowing in witnesses the gallery, I think that you had indicated you would reserve one row for the next of kin.
Yeah, let's discuss that. We're going to put up signage after we complete jury selection. So the first row on both sides behind defense counsel and behind the state will be reserved for immediate family members, next of kin, those sorts of people, relatives. The very last row on both sides will be reserved for media. And then the middle rows in between those two will be kind of a first come, first serve general public viewing area. Any questions about that?
I do just want to make sure that, assuming we're leaving on the defendant's mother, father, sister,
Well, if they're potential witnesses, they won't be in here.
the state will be invoking the rule of exclusion.
Do you understand that, Ms. Daybell?
I do.
All right. So as long as people that we haven't already addressed other than Mr. Eaton remain on the witness list, the rule of exclusion would be, in fact, it means that they won't be allowed in the courtroom except for your investigator can be in the courtroom. And they're precluded from talking to anyone about their testimony or other testimony until they're released as witnesses. Anything else from the state for today?
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
All right. Anything from the defense for today?
A couple of things, Your Honor. We need to discuss the
how the division would like the media exhibits.
What?
How the division would like the media exhibits if we're presenting recordings or audio, individual flash drives for each exhibit. There wasn't.
Depends on how you're going to present them, but I would say, yeah, probably one flash drive per recording or exhibit.
And then I'm guessing 3 copies, one for state, one for.
I don't know that you need copies if you've already disclosed it to them. Just tell them what it is when we're marking it and tell the clerk what it is with the description so it's clear on the exhibit list which exhibit is what.
one more thing, Your Honor. I wanted a clarification in your minute entry dated the 25th regarding the defendant's motion to remove restraints. So my understanding when I read what was from MCSO, and then you put in here, however, at the sheriff's discretion, one or more armed sheriff deputies may be positioned near the exits. So what their recommendation was the minimum amount of restraints, meaning if there was going to be an armed guard, then they would not have to do the belt. So I was confused by and wanted a clarification on what you were actually ordering because the DOs had a question about it with me this morning. So
I ordered that you don't have to wear the leg restraint, but that you do have to wear the rack belt because that is not going to be visible to the jury. The leg restraint's a little more cumbersome and visible, and since you're representing yourself and you're going to need to approach the podium and those sorts of things, I ordered the removal of the leg restraint. You will, though, wear the rack belt And then I said it's up to the sheriff's office if they want to. They can position a couple deputies in the back if they want additional deputies.
Well, their recommendation was that you wouldn't have to use the belt at all if they had the armed guard.
I read their response and their recommendation, and that's my order.
So what is it exactly?
That you have to wear the rack belt, but not the leg restraint.
And that they will or will not have armed guard?
It's up to them.
Okay.
All right, so tomorrow we're going to start at 10:30 with going through the answers on the questionnaires that the walk-in jurors will fill out in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we'll have in-person voir dire of those potential jurors. The court's going to seal the FTR tomorrow for the portion of the in-person answers of the jurors, which should be from 1:30 on. All right, we'll be at recess.
Foxton investigator Justin Lum here with Special Projects EP George Obie. You're watching the Doomsday Murder Trial coverage, and where do we start? That was a lot. That is how you start trial off with a hearing like that. So many different motions, and what we got from that is Lori Vallow Daybell did not really win anything or get what she wanted at all, and a win for the journal.
So I thought I would let us, if we want to see the rest of Justin's commentary on it, we could go back and watch that later. And that was from Fox 10 and Phoenix. We thank them for that. Kresha, did you want to come on and talk for a bit, or did you want to wait and come on maybe tonight and when you've had time to digest it a little, and we could talk some more? If Crush is in the live stream in the chat. There's so much more we could go over, but we've been going for almost 4 hours, so I thought maybe we should take a break and come back later this evening. What do you think? Since we've been on here for 4 hours almost. That, I'm telling you, that she was acting up. I told y'all she won't make it. I mean, she'll be trying to fight with that judge. She can't be doing that way. Let me see what's in the chat. I'm yakking and I'm not even seeing what y'all are saying. Yes, Nate's going to be allowed to be in the courtroom. She's going to switch over to watch Fox 10. Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to run their whole, I wanted to see court, but I didn't want to steal their whole live feed while they're going. So that's why I did that. I broke off of it. Did they pick a jury? Yeah. Michelle, they got, I believe they said 45 or something like that. You know, they ask them the first questions and they bring them back and ask some more questions. So they got one group and they're going to try to do another group. And I'm guessing that on Thursday they will throw them out and get down to, they're going to have 12. I didn't understand for sure. I know they're going to have 12 jurors and either 4 or 6 alternate jurors. So that would make either 16 or 18. I'm not sure. But so they threw out a bunch of people and they got quite a few. And there was commentary that a lot, 62. And Fancy Nancy said it was 62-ish people. Beach Bum says, wait till he slams that gavel and said cause. It's so according to the law. Yes. I'm telling you, she was just like going at him, wasn't she? I hope she don't talk that way to him in front of the jury. The jury will lose patience with her attitude quickly. Yes, they will. And I'm surprised the judge won't lose patience with it. I'm telling you, if you were in traffic and talked that way to the policeman who stopped you from speeding, he'd end up tasing your behind. You can't be talking to the law that way. She's acting like she's trying to be the prosecutor, not the other way around. That's right, Susie Blue. Fancy Nancy says, justice for Charles. Diana L says, thank you for covering most of the day. We need to take a break. I think we do too. So I say that let's close out and let Kresha go back over and listen and think about what we've learned so far today. And I bet you she'll come back later and give us a review. And also, we're going to do this again tomorrow. So everybody eat your Wheaties so you'll have plenty of energy. Get your coffee going. Get you a good nap tonight. Don't let your mama drink no Mountain Dew. I'm saying. Thank you, Betty Boop. Thank you for attending our live. Here we have 131 people that took up their time this afternoon to spend time with us, and we sure appreciate it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to close out, and remember that we're here for justice for Charles, also justice for Tylee, JJ, Tammy, and Joe, and all the rest of the people that these fools hurt. So remember, love always wins, and I'll see y'all later today probably.